Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Hiker Trash Live. Now that it has an official name and an official thumbnail, and somebody told me last week that this felt like a talk show to them. So I'm going to go with that. As far as I know, this is the only Hiker Trash Live talk show on the internet. So hopefully I'll inspire some people to do more of them. Hopefully we can do more of these. So I started this over on Instagram. For anyone that's not familiar, started it about 3 weeks ago over on Instagram. I had a ton of requests to move it here to YouTube, so I did. And I've had some special guests that have been on the Instagram feeds. And then last week on the inaugural Hiker Trash Live here on YouTube, we had Jennifer Farah Davis, who is an amazing author, has set a ton of records on some long distance trails. We had Acuna Hikes, who is an amazing, super inspirational triple crowner. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have 3 guests. So first up, we're going to have Second Chance Hiker. We're going to have him on here in a little bit. If you guys are not familiar with that cat, super inspirational. He did the PCT last year, and you'll find out a little bit more about him. Next up, we're going to have Legend, also known as Jeff Garmeyer. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. He's probably going to be mad about that, but I'll have Jeff Garmeyer, also known as the Free Outside, who has done some very amazing things in the world of hiking. And last, we will have Jupiter Hikes. You guys probably follow him here on YouTube. He puts out some of the funniest hiking videos I've ever seen, and some really great serious hiking videos as well. He has done a bunch of different stuff in the world of hiking, so I am super excited to bring on all 3 of those guests today. So, usually to start these off, I like to answer a handful of questions, and this isn't necessarily a Q&A, so if you do have a question and I don't get to it, I do apologize, but questions just roll up and down through the chat box super fast. Real quick, if you were in the last week's live chat, if you were with us live last week, we gave away 2 different prizes. So Jennifer Farr Davis gave away a copy of her book, Odessa Hikes, Becoming Odessa. It's the 10th anniversary version of the book. She gave a copy of that away, and then I gave away a special edition Outdoor Evolution co-branded Waymark fanny pack. So if you had left your name down in the comments trying to win one of those, I did announce the winners yesterday. So if you want to see if you were a winner, or if you haven't gotten that notification yet, it's over on the community tab. So if you go over on the community tab, that's where I usually post winners to certain giveaways and contests that I'm doing. But I did post those 2 winners over there. And yeah, real quick, I just got a super chat from Brian Carter. Thank you, good sir. I really appreciate it. But didn't leave me an awesome comment for me to read for everybody. So, all right, so let's answer a couple of questions real quick. And then we will get into bringing in our first guest. Man, questions are just rolling up super fast. Let's see who we have here. Or let's see what we have here. Somebody said, can I get a whoop whoop? Whoop whoop. There you go. Let's see what we got. There's so many questions. Oh, so someone is asking, and I've had a lot of questions on this lately. Darwin, do you know when the Evolve pack will be available? So if some of you don't know what Mick is talking about, I helped design a pack that I carried, well, for at least 8 days on the AT this year. It's what I was going to be using in Peru. It's what I hope to use in Canada on the Great Divide Trail, and what I hope to use on the Colorado Trail. It's a 35-liter pack that I helped design with the help of Waymark Gear Company. That pack is soon to be released. With everything going on with, obviously this apocalypse that we seem to be in, which is getting better. I feel like it's getting a little bit better. Waymark decided to hold that back a little bit, but from what I understand, I think they plan on releasing that within the next month or 2 months. And once it does, I will do a full review of my pack, the one that I've had since last year. I've had my Evolve and I started designing it last year, and then I got mine and I've been prototyping it since last September. So I think I got quite a handful of miles on it, enough to give an opinion anyways on the pack. So to answer that question for you, Mick, and for everybody else that's been asking, it will be out soon, and I will let you know if I find anything out. You'll be the first to know. So, let's see, what else do we have here? Can I get some shout out? I'm watching from the Everest region, Himalayas. What's going on there? Is it Simon? Simon Dude? What's up, dude? Hopefully the Everest region and the Himalayas are treating you well. Let's see. Oh, here's a question. How do you deal with a bare canister when required, rent or purchase? Do you have a recommended model for backpacking? I have been fortunate enough to only really have to use a bare can one time, and that was on the PCT in 2018. And really on the PCT, if there's some other sections, but the only real time that you really have to carry one, no questions, is through the Sierra. So from Kennedy Meadows, some people will say Lone Pine if you want to go down into Lone Pine, all the way to Sonora Pass. So you do have to carry a bare can through basically Yosemite and Sequoia and that whole region right there. The can that I carried was the BV450. So probably the most common bare canister that most people buy is either the BV450, which is the little short stubby one, or the BV500, which is the taller one. I chose to carry the BV450. I was able to pack all of my food in it at least 5 to 6 days at a time. It took a lot of strategy. I had to be very strategic about how I packed it, but that's what I used. I know some other people that have used the Barricade. I believe that is the carbon fiber one. So there is one that is quite a bit lighter, but quite a bit more expensive. So I own one. I do own a BV450, and I also own a BV500, strangely enough. One came into my possession. So I guess I own two of them. I own a 450 and a 500. But I know a lot of people that do rent them. There are quite a handful of hikers that will rent them if they're only going to be using them for a small section of trail. But for me, it just made sense to buy one in case I need it going forward. All right, looks like I got another super chat from Hayden Hatfield. Thanks very much, Hayden. Hayden says, I have made the decision to hike the CDT as my first through hike. 2 years or so of planning and prepping left to do, but I want to thank you for the awesome inspiration and wonderful entertainment. Well, thanks. You are very welcome, and thanks for the kind words. Yeah, awesome first through hike. I would have never thought to through hike the CDT first, but it seems like that's a thing that's starting to happen. A lot of people are going out to do the CDT first, where in the past, most people would actually just, the AT it seemed to always be everyone's first through hike, and then it became more of either the PCT or the AT, and now I've heard tons of people that are going out to do the CDT for the first time, which I think is awesome. Have an awesome time getting the rest of that planned out over the next 2 years, and yeah, you're gonna love that trail. And the great thing is in the next 2 years, it'll probably start getting a little bit more of a community around it. I know that just in the past 3 years, I was out there in 2017, hiking basically all of New Mexico, and there was like nobody else on the trail. And for what I understand, over the past 3 years, it has just, the community has grown. There's more support. There's trail angels. So I think in the next 2 years, you're gonna have a really great hike out there with a lot of support. Thanks again, Hayden, for the super chat. All right, let's cruise down a little bit. Oh my God, there's so many comments. Is there a, Metro on the move. What's up, Metro? I met Metro back in 2018, out near the AT, the beginning of the AT. Before I started the Pinhoti Trail, I met Metro. I did a meet and greet. Metro came out, and we've kept in contact and been pretty good friends since. So hopefully you're doing well, Metro. is there a specific lens that you recommend? I personally shoot with my all-time favorite lens. I'm a big prime guy. I don't like a lot of zooms, so I shoot with a Canon EF 24 millimeter lens, 24 2.8. And I do use that on a full frame camera, so I do get all 24 millimeters. And then whenever I was shooting on an APS-C size sensor, I shot with a 22 millimeter, which is a very strange focal length. So I think that ends up being like 34, 35. So my sweet spot is right between 24 millimeters and we'll say 50 millimeters. I really like that focal length. I think it's good for a lot of things. And personally, I love using a prime lens over a zoom lens because I feel like it kind of teaches you how to be a little bit more creative, right? To get different shots with one type of lens. So, yep, that's what I use. Looks like some more super chats are coming in. Sarah Dinsmore. Thank you, Sarah Dinsmore. Sarah says, I will be doing the PCT as my first through hike. I've wanted to for a while, and thank you for inspiring me. You're welcome. Thanks for the kind words and the super chat, Sarah. Have a great time on the PCT. It's an excellent first through hike. It's a dream trail, absolutely. Jennifer Farr Davis and I were talking about that last week. The PCT is like a dream through hike. Weather's always great. Yeah, weather's great. The tread's great. The scenery's great. It's a great trail. RJ Hikes. What's up, RJ? Thanks for the super chat. Says Miguel's status update. Still closed, but ever hopeful. So for some of you that don't know what Miguel's is, and I might be getting in that conversation with Jupiter a little bit later, we might be talking about a certain trail. Miguel's is this really famous pizza place that is basically at Red River Gorge. So for any of you that don't know where that is, it's a very iconic spot in eastern Kentucky. Not too far from Lexington and Louisville. I grew up in southern Indiana, so basically the only option I really had for backpacking and getting out in somewhat of something that resembles a mountain is Red River Gorge. And that's where I did a lot of my first backpacking trips. It's where I trained to do the AT. It's where I dialed my gear down. But there's a very famous pizza place there called Miguel's that is become infamous. It's famous over the years. It's where all the climbers and hikers hang out. They have awesome pizza, and that's sad that they're closed. Sometimes I dream of having a slice of Miguel's pizza. And then Kimberly Everson, thank you for the super chat. Kimberly says, best month for the AZT. That is a good question. So I have hiked in the spring on the Arizona Trail, and I've hiked in the fall on the Arizona Trail. I personally like the fall. There's one caveat to that. Usually if you're hiking in the fall, a lot of people will go southbound. So they'll start up at Utah, they'll hike to Mexico. During that time, unless it was a really good monsoon season, it's really dry on the trail, especially up here in the northern section. So from Utah basically to just outside of Phoenix in the Superstitions, it's pretty dry. Not a lot of water. So a little bit longer water carries, but getting to hike through some of the aspen groves up here by the San Francisco Peaks, just outside of Flagstaff, is amazing in the fall because all the leaves turn yellow and golden, and it's pretty. So I personally like hiking in the fall better than I did in the spring. That being said, when I thru hiked last year in 2019 in the spring, it was a super wet year and there was tons of water. I think that I only ever carried 1.5 liters max at a time, which was insane. Now, it was a super wet year because of all the snow that we had the winter before, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I think the best month would be coming here end of September into October and going south on the trail. Super, super beautiful. And then another super chat from Kono Watt. Says, big fan, thanks. Have you ever been to Michigan? If so, where have you been and any good memories? Don't stop doing what you're doing. Cheers. Thank you. Yes, I have been to Michigan. It was just on a quick road trip, and I don't really remember much about Michigan, to be honest. It's funny because I'm from Southern Indiana. I've spent a ton of time in Chicago. I've spent a ton of time in up by Sandusky, Ohio, um, in Northern Ohio, and I think that I've literally popped into Michigan like one time, and I don't really remember what I did. I was a kid. I was on a road trip with family, and that's about the extent of it. So I need to get up there though and hike um, some of the beautiful lakes and stuff up there. I have a really good friend that was in my original tramway in 2015 on the AT, and he's from up there. He's been trying to get me to come up there for years. So I need to get up there. Jester Hikes, how's it going? Thank you for the super chat. Love the AZT film and and where you are going with your film work. Thank you. And she says, thanks for the hard work. Yeah, thanks. So Jester Hikes is an excellent hiker. She had just done a live cast on Instagram with my buddy Plug It In, and I tuned into that for a little bit. It's great seeing you on here. Thanks for joining, and thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the kind words about the Arizona Trail film. And hiking a different path. Another super chat. Man, so many super chats. How do you think long distance hikes like the AT will change for 2021 in light of the COVID-19 reactions? That's a good question, and I answered some of that last time on last week's live cast, and I don't know. I definitely think that things are going to be different. It's definitely going to change things, 100%. I think it's going to change how we interact in towns. I think it's going to change how we interact with other hikers, say if you're on the AT, staying in shelters and stuff. And unfortunately, because seemed like there was quite a divide in the hiking community, people that wanted to stay on trail, people that wanted to get off trail. I think that there's going to be a little bit of a weird divide between the hiking community and between other hikers. I hope not. I hope that I'm wrong. But I've seen a lot of it, online. I've seen a lot of it. I've talked to a lot of people that kind of have different opinions, which is always good. It's good to have different opinions, but hopefully nothing negative will come out of it. We shall see. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. All right. I'm going to answer this question real quick because it's a Camera Geek questions, and I love questions like this. And then we're going to bring in our first guest, which will be Second Chance Hiker. So the question is, oh, it went away. I know you use the Canon EOS R for your hiking camera. Yeah, and it's actually the camera that you guys are seeing me on right now. I'm using it as a webcam as well. With the release of the R5, are you planning on upgrading? Oh yeah, absolutely. They did that press release yesterday, so they basically took the R, a camera that I love, and done things to it that I've said since I've owned it that if they could only put IBIS in it, if they could only put no crop on the 4K in it, and they did it. So yes, I'm definitely going to be upgrading cameras. We'll see when that gets released and how much it is. They have not said how much that camera is going to be. So I think that I am going to be, upgrading, but we will see. All right, folks, let me bring in my first guest here, and we will get this talk show portion started. Sent them a message. Got a question here real quick. We'll wait for him to connect. Tom Willard says, do you have any more AT vids left to publish? Oh, wait a minute. So many things going on. Give me just a second, guys. Hold on just a second. I'm going to answer this question real quick. Tom Willard says, do you have any more AT vids left to publish before you got off the trail? Your current AT series is your best work and amazing. Thank you. Yes, I have one more episode coming out, and it comes out on Thursday, and that's it. It's me getting off the trail, which is probably going to be a pretty sad episode. I'm finishing up the edit on it now, and it's been kind of sad to edit that video, to be 100% honest. All right, so I can see this fine young gentleman, but you folks cannot see him yet, so let me get him all connected here. Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest should need no introduction because I would assume that most of you are following this lovely man. So welcome, Second Chance Hiker. I'll make sure I come over
Darwin,
here so it doesn't look like I'm
hey!
eating your head. There, yeah. How you doing?
Darwin, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Um, Welcome. So it was fun to do as I was telling everybody, we did an Instagram live. I got to make sure I'm looking down here and not at the camera. That's the people, that's you. Um, been making sure that, told everybody that we did the Instagram live thing together real quick. And I had so much requests to bring this back and for you to come back on here and for a lot of people to come back on here. So thank you so much for jumping on here.
No, thank you so much. The Instagram thing was a lot of fun too. I mean, that was actually really great idea all around.
Yeah, I felt like, we needed to be more connected as a community, right? With all the everything going on and people getting a little bit divided in opinions and stuff like that, and all of us being trapped inside and not getting to do the thing that we should all be doing right now, which is, as hiker trash, like now's the time to be on trail. So I felt like this would be a good way for us all to be connected. So yeah, again, thanks so much for doing this and coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm going crazy, so I know everybody else is going crazy too. Like, I think everybody's going mad at this point.
Yeah, it seems like it. So how you doing where you're at?
Doing really good. I started exercising every day, and I think that's been really helping too.
Nice.
And some people might know that I had a flight to Germany. I'm supposed to be in Germany at this moment, but it was canceled.
Oh.
So that was kind of like,
Yeah.
I was completely bummed out.
Were you going just to hang out with Little Bee, or were you going over there for any other reason?
Just it was 100% Little Bee.
Nice. Good answer.
But yeah. So I was going to stay there probably for a few months and everything until they probably kicked me out because of my visa expiry. But we were going to do hiking there too, and maybe do like the Witch Trail or something, and go exploring Germany some.
Say the Witch Trail?
Yeah, the Witch Trail.
Ooh, that sounds spooky.
I don't know. It sounds spooky, scary, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really know much about it besides maybe it's like 100-something miles. I'm not really sure, so it's not too long. But it sounds very interesting, and it might be kind of spooky. But that was like the first trail she mentioned. I was like, okay, no, you already convinced me. I want to hike this.
Nice. I might have to look into that. I'm always like making this massive list of all these different like long distance trails, whether they're just 70 miles or whether they're a couple thousand miles, to put on this list of like, ooh, I got to go eventually do that. So now I'm definitely gonna have to put down the Witch Trail. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think Germany gets enough love for their hiking either, though. So maybe I can throw some German love in there and say, oh yeah, you should totally go hiking in Germany.
Totally. So how was your experience? Because I know that you went over there last year. How was that experience? Is that your first time being in another country?
Actually, I went to Canada for 24 hours, but quickly got out of there. That was interesting too. And I originally, Little Bee visa was going to expire, so we came up with this crazy master plan, and it was also going to be our birthday. So we actually flew to Costa Rica for like 3 days.
I remember
and it was
that,
like
yeah.
so awesome. Yeah, it was actually the Patreons that kind of stepped up there that kind of made that trip happen. That's too.
Awesome.
So Little Bee was able to stay in the country, and what we were going to do originally is like we're going to go jump in the Sierras because that was part we skipped. And I mean, I started in the wintertime on the PCT,
right, yeah.
and it was horrible. I hit so much snow. I mean, San Jacinto, I had tears coming down my eyes on Apache Peak. It felt like a death march I was on. So I didn't really want to go into the Sierras at such like a high snow year. So like, let's wait till it melts. Let's go finish in Washington and come back and do the Sierras. But now it's like October, and then all of a sudden snow starts picking up again. And kind of we looked at each other and we're like, do we really want to go into the Sierras right now? Like, not really. We can come back another time. So we talked about, so we originally had this Costa Rica plan so we could come back to go hike in the Sierras to get our visa extended. And then by the time we did it and everything, it's so warm in Costa Rica and nice, we're like, yeah, going into the snow just sounds awful.
Yeah, man. After like 2018, going through the Sierra, and I mean, we went through kind of early, but it wasn't bad when we went in. But like getting hit with the winter storm that we got hit with, or the early spring, late winter, whatever you want to call it. They try to call it a subtropical early spring winter storm. I'm like, I don't know what that means. That's too many words.
I remember that so well too. And I
Yeah.
always quoted you in my videos. I called it the tactical retreat. That, Darwin does tactical retreats if the weather's crazy. So it's okay for me to do a tactical retreat. There's no reason to get myself killed.
Yeah,
And
man.
it's
Ever since then, like I've really wanted to go back to the Sierra. I've wanted to re-hike the Sierra without the snow, right? Without like dealing with all the aggravation of post holing and stuff. But like I made that like a point then. I was like, all right, from now on, like next through hike that I do, like I'm gonna make sure that I'm not hiking in snow. I'm not messing with it. Like I'll hike in snow, but there's hiking in snow and there's living in snow. Two totally different things.
yeah.
And then it's funny because I went to go do the Arizona Trail, and literally the first day out of the gate, you climb up Miller Peak, which is one of the higher peaks in the state. It's like the first 8 miles. Like you climb right from the monument up to the peak, basically.
Oh
And
wow.
we were post holing in snow. So it was
Wait,
like,
how many feet is that? How many feet did you have to climb?
I can't remember the elevation gain on that. It's tough though. It's a lot of people don't realize that going into that trail, but whenever you start it, you actually start 2 miles from the terminus. So Montezuma Pass, and you have to hike down to the terminus to the border. Get your famed terminus shot, right, for the gram, and then and then you got to hike basically 2 miles back up this super steep like mini mountain. Then you hit the parking lot, and then you got to hike basically all the way up to Miller Peak. It doesn't go to the peak, but most people go to the peak. But tons of snow up there. It's
Yeah.
pretty
When I was
crazy.
watching your documentary too, I was like, okay, Arizona's completely flat. I'm thinking desert again too. And again, I'm always blown away. I'm always wrong. I'm like, how am I always wrong? I saw the snow and everything what you showed, and I was like, okay, again, Arizona, not what I was expecting at all. But I
No.
moved the Arizona Trail now to the top of my list after watching your
Well,
documentary too.
nice, nice. That was good. That was the goal. It was getting people inspired to come out here, for sure. But yeah, it's weird. Most people, I think, assume that Arizona is going to be flat and stuff, but like don't realize that it's the Sonoran Desert is high desert. So like you have the Sky Islands and stuff. You go from flat, barren desert straight up to super high alpine peaks like within a matter of an hour, and then you drop back down to the desert, then you go back up to the alpine, and drop back down. It's a pretty wild and diverse trail for sure. You should definitely come out here. Absolutely.
Oh, it's on my list to do now too. So that's awesome. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody would even have really heard of it if you didn't actually do that. So that's
It was
awesome.
picking up some traction, but I'm glad that's how people look at the film. That's how they maybe found out about the trail first. I hope that's the gift that it gives. But yeah, so let's talk about you a little bit. So yeah, this is about you. That bringing you on is talking about you. So um, what did you have? I know we talked loosely about it. Aside from going to Germany, what other hikes did you have planned here in the States for this year? Did you were going to do some stuff
So
on the Florida
Florida,
Trail?
I was going to start hitting different sections more of the Florida Trail,
Yeah.
and I was actually working on already getting the documentary out, working with the editor, and we were trying to do voiceover for it, and 5 hours worth of footage we're trying to condense into like a 30-minute episode,
Nice.
and trying to make it like all action packed with alligators hiking in like waist deep swamps. I'm swimming through part of it, and
Nice.
helicopters flying over. So it's supposed to be really, really exciting what I did. I originally took out 4 people in February, and none of them had any backpacking experience except the one woman. She had one night. She said she camped one night. Nobody else even overnight camped before. So I took them all in the Florida swamps to survive. But I mean, it was so much fun. I kind of thought Florida was going to be super boring. Honestly, I thought for years Florida's boring. It's
And
flat and
you're
everything else.
originally from Florida, yeah?
Yeah, I'm from Florida, so I get to say Florida's boring too. I'm allowed to. So I was kind of had this impression like this is what Florida was going to be like too, and yeah, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I mean, what's your like waist deep water? You're in a swamp. You're kind of like,
That's what
okay,
everybody tells me, and I'm one of those people too. I'm just like everyone's. When are you going to through hike the Florida Trail? And I'm like, I don't know if I am going to through hike the Florida Trail because that's that's the whole perception I have of Florida. But yeah, I mean, every time I talk to somebody, it's all they can do is just talk great things about it. So it might be moving up some notches on the list We'll
All
see
right,
what
that's what I
happens.
want. Yeah, and I mean Jupiter, if he's coming on too, I mean
Yeah.
I was watching his stuff, and I was even asked him for advice too, and because I mean he looks like he's the expert in Florida too,
Yeah.
so that was really exciting. So now it's like me and Jupiter, hopefully give Florida a lot more love to it.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of people that have really been like screaming its name. So I think that it's definitely gonna rise up on the ranks of thru hikes, especially because I mean it's perfect for the winter, right? Like it's a perfect time to
Yeah,
go hike it is in the season where we can't hike the other trails, or we can, but most people don't want to.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Florida's perfect in the winter too, and there's really no mosquitoes. Most of the time, there's no mosquitoes, and I mean, you're not sweating or anything. And the alligators do not eat in the winter time. They
really?
like to sit out in the sun, so they're not supposed to eat anybody in the winter time. So we're supposed to be good to go. So
So, if you, I guess if you had to, for everybody watching and people maybe that are interested, if you had to suggest like what would be you think time frame if like you were going to do a Florida Trail through hike, like saying going northbound, when would you, what would be the good window to start a hike like that?
I would say January 1st. I heard that's when
Really?
like the one hunting season stopped and everything. And I don't quote me, I may change my mind completely here, but if I was looking at it right now, what I've gotten, January 1st, and I think it's like I might be wrong again. I think it's 1,100 miles, but I'm thinking you
I
can
think yeah,
maybe
that sounds about right.
yeah. I think they're trying to add more to it and add different things. Somebody else said 1,400. I don't know. I know they're still working on different sections and trying to turn it because it's part of it's road walking. I still have this attitude that I will skip road walking anytime. Life's too short to do road walking.
You, you you need to do the Pinhoti Trail. The Pinhoti Trail will make you. I won't say appreciate road walking because I mean road walking still is it's what it is, right? But I think that the Pinhoti Trail, because there is so many sections of that trail that have not been taken off the road yet, because they just haven't had the privilege to be able to route it back into the forest. Um,
Yeah.
you kind of I never really dug road walking, and then when I thru hiked the Pinhoti in 2018, it kind of gave me a little bit of an appreciation for road walking, just because I learned how like as long as it's not just all road walking for like days on end,
Yeah.
it kind of breaks things up, right? So you get to kind of really
Yeah.
put the rockets on for a little bit and just kind of cruise down the sidewalk. And I mean, whenever I did the Pinhoti, I remember stopping off at like it was a real long day that we had. We stopped off at a gas station and like had a beer and like a roller grill hot dog and stuff. So it was like,
Sounds
road walking's
awesome.
not all bad. It can, if it's a good time for hiker trash. Like whenever you can just pop off and get extra food and something to drink. So real quick, somebody left a comment for you, a super chat. Hike to Change said, please thank Second Chance for the inspiring videos. Got me on the PCT in March at 330 pounds. Off trail now, but he really inspired me to get out there. So
Awesome. I'm glad that I could do that. And you, Darwin, inspired me to get out hiking too. So, I mean, it just pay it forward and then maybe he'll go out and hike and, just keep going
that's
forward
what
and
it's all
forward and
about.
then more people.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was
absolutely.
really awesome. I'm glad that I definitely felt like I wasn't sure if I belonged when I was out there. And then just everybody was so overwhelming, accepting of me and
Yeah.
everything. It was awesome. And the community is the most loving, awesome community. And yeah, if you have any doubts, if you think humanity is evil or anything else, just get out hiking and you'll meet the nicest people,
It's
people that
true.
just offer you rides, offer you shelter in their house, cook you a meal, and just having a warm, hot meal, just a stranger coming up and having a meal for you. You're just, wow, I love humans so
Yeah, it
much.
totally changes your perception of humanity for sure. I mean, that's what it did for me in 2015. And it's, every time I talk to somebody that is a first time hiker, like once they're into the trail for like at least like even like 2 weeks, they just have this totally different perception, and the trails really helped them kind of come up with this new idea of what it means to have community and just humanity, just how great people are. I think we get probably force fed a lot like how terrible everybody is and everybody should stay away from each other and everybody's scary. But when you're out on trail for months on end, you see a totally different world than what people are usually told. And I think
Yeah.
it changes, at least for me, it's changed my perception going into normal everyday life. Like I look at everybody as a friend. Like I'll see somebody randomly in a grocery store and like, oh, my friend, like right on. So
Yeah, absolutely. And when I first started out hiking, I was like out there all by myself, and that for like the first 2 months, I was pretty much just solo hiking.
Yeah.
I thought this is how it was going to be. This is what I actually was thinking. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing other hikers. Then all of a sudden, I got into this hug thing. Anybody who just started talking to me, I'm like, bring it in. Let's do a hug.
Oh, they're such good hugs too. It's my personal favorite hug. I'm lucky enough to have an on-screen hug from Second Chance.
Oh yeah, we definitely hugged a few times.
I could use it. It sucks we're all having to social distance right now. I could use one of those hugs right now for sure.
Yeah, I could totally use a hug right now too.
So let's fire off a couple random questions. Let's see. I think there's tons of people that always want to. Oh, real quick, I did want to touch on because we have a common relationship. You were talking about hiking for the first little bit by yourself. When did you hook up with Panda? When did you start hiking with P?
Oh, I love Panda so much. So after Big Bear, I actually ran into the hot. Oh no, actually no. San Jacinto, I tried to get him to camp with me. I was dying. I was so exhausted. I forgot what this elevation climb was, and I was getting closer and closer to Apache Peak. I think he was getting off before Apache Peak,
yeah.
But anyways, I met him there, and I tried to get him. He came up with headphones, and he didn't know me. He was going to walk right by me. I'm like, hey, dude, hey. And I stopped him, and I said, I am so tired. I didn't think anybody else was going to be up here because a snowstorm was going to come, like, tomorrow or something. And I was like, I think there's this nice flat spot right here. I think I'm just going to camp here. Do you want to camp with me? And he's like, nah, I'm going to keep going. And I was like, okay, well, have a good hike. I thought I'd never see the guy again. And I ran into him multiple times, but then after Big Bear, I ran into him again at a hostel, and I'm like, it's Panda again. I was like, actually, you look like you lost some weight since the last time I saw you, too. And then we actually met up, and I think we met up on, again, we were supposed to deep the hot spring,
yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
So a lot of people go naked. We did not go naked.
No, didn't brave the waters.
No, we went fully clothed. We wore our swims, I guess hiker underwear or something, just in case anyone was wondering. But yeah, so I met back up with him, and then for 2 weeks, we hiked for 2 weeks, and it was really awesome. And then he had to go shoot a wedding, I believe, and I was really sad. And the very next day, I met Little B, though. So
nice, that's a good trade-off. Yeah, Panda's pretty good, but not that good. Hopefully P's watching this. I've been trying to convince P to come on and do one of these Tuesdays.
Yeah, I've been meaning to call Panda. He's like on my top of my list of people I need to call and talk to and catch up and everything too. Man, so I hope he's doing good.
I talked to him last night. He's doing pretty good. He's always doing some sort of video. He's always doing some sort of video project. So I brought Panda on. Panda helped me. He co-edited the film. So we've edited the film. He actually, it's funny. I wish that I would have shot it because I was talking to somebody and they're like, you should make a short film about that. Panda, for everybody watching that doesn't know Panda, go check his videos out. He made amazing videos on the PCT. So this is a big shout out for him. Panda on the PCT. Just absolutely amazing videos. Breathtaking. And somehow I convinced that dude to crash out on my floor for a month. And we edited that film together. Yeah, he slept right here, like literally like right here. And we edited that entire film together. So he's a very good man and a sweetheart. And he always tells me some funny stories from when you guys were hiking together, like the one of you, him, and Twerk going and just destroying sushi one night at a place.
Did he ever mention the rattlesnake one where I fell over in front of a rattlesnake and he's grabbing me, trying to pull me? Like,
no.
I'm screwed. Me and Elizabeth and Panda, we were hiking and this rattlesnake came in front of me and I had the lead, and all of a sudden I jumped back and screamed. I fell over and the rattlesnake was like curled up and everything, like it was about to strike me, and I'm just screaming my head out, ah! And Panda's grabbing my backpack trying to yank me away.
That's awesome.
And you want a Panda in your corner. If you're ever in trouble, you want a Panda to come
save you. Definitely. Like everybody needs Panda on their crew. Like he's a good guy to have around for sure. So apparently he saves your life. He's really good at all-you-can-eat sushi, and he's also really good at crashing on your floor and helping you edit a film. So if anybody out there is looking for all three of those things in a person, get a hold of Panda because he's good people.
Absolutely. If only we could kidnap Panda and just keep him at all times.
So let's answer some. Or let me shoot you a couple quick fire questions, and I'm sure that a lot of people that are watching, might not know, might want to kind of find out about your hike on the PCT, and just kind of like general questions that we all get. Number one, what's your hiking shoe of choice? What are you currently hiking in? What were you hiking in on the PCT?
I originally left in my 2015. They were originally my most expensive pair. They were like boots and from like J.C. Penney's. They were awful.
Nice.
I got injections in my feet, like adrenaline shots, because my foot was so swollen. And the doctor's like, throw these away. What are you doing? And I switched to Ultras. And I forgot, I do not remember. I have the Lone Peak 4.0s right now. I'm wearing them right now too, by the way. I have the waterproof and then the mesh ones. I have both, but I don't like the waterproof. I think I bought them accidentally.
Why?
But
So for everyone asking, or for everyone watching that's always wondering, like, why I don't use waterproof, why would you say not to use waterproof?
you walk in water or snow too, it all gets in there, and then all of a sudden they don't dry really fast. I think the first creek, maybe the second creek I crossed, I took off my shoes. But then after you have 20 creek crossings or hiking Mission Creek, I think I walked miles in water. You just start wearing your Ultras and then hike just half a mile, they're dry again.
Right.
So yeah, if you have waterproof anything, no. And yeah, don't listen to what they try to sell you. Always go a size up too, because your feet swell. And I used yours twice. I bought yours twice. I forgot what the ones you recommended, but you recommended an Ultras or the Olympa.
Oh, the Olympus, the big fat platform ones.
Yeah, so I actually bought those twice. They actually work really, really well. But then I went back to I like that little bit. The Lone Peaks, the higher ones that give you a little bit more ankle support. Yeah. So I ended up sticking with those. So yeah, I'm still a big Ultra fan. I tried a couple different other ones right now, and I still haven't been blown away. Yeah. So I'm sticking with Ultras.
Nice, right on. What's your favorite meal on trail? So first, cold soak or cook?
I'm a big cold soaker.
Soaker.
I'm too tired to cook.
That's how I always feel.
I was like, I just want to cowboy camp and cook now. I thought, yeah. Everybody always tries to convince me, oh no, you need a hot meal. No. Trail sushi though. Taking seaweed, beef jerky, wrapping it up. That's the best. I call it trail sushi.
Ooh.
Awesome.
That sounds all right. You were putting like the seaweed in like your mashed potatoes and stuff too, weren't you?
Oh yeah, throw seaweed in mashed potatoes. Gives a little bit of ocean flavor going.
Nice.
Yeah, you could use seaweed is so lightweight and it's awesome. And then you feel like a fancy hiker trash person. You're like, I'm eating my sushi here.
All right, next up, what pack are you currently using? What's your pack of choice? Because I know you went through a couple different ones, right?
Yeah, I went through 3 different ones. The Granite Gear, Crown Royal. There was an REI one that the strap kept snapping. And the Granite Gear originally was too small for me. I was a bigger guy and stuff like that, so it didn't even go around my waist. So I went to the Osprey. It's the XO58.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the XO58. And I have it on secondchancehiker.com. Just click there and you have a whole gear list you can see.
There you go. There's the plug, folks. There's the...
So if you want to see what gear and stuff I'm using now, I love the red backpack. It's awesome. Little B was using it too. We both switched to it together. It says it's made for a man, but yeah, we both used it. And it was actually the number one, I think, what I saw hikers. It was like the most used on the PCT at the time.
Whenever I was on the AT and 15, I think that was the most popular pack. I think I saw that more. It was either that or the Atmos 65, which is the pack that I use. So I actually used a 65-liter pack on my first hike, which was way too big. I didn't even have like enough gear to actually put in it. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I think I could go down to the 40s now too. But yeah, you learn so much when you you learn from trial and error.
It's funny. Like I started using I helped co-design a pack this year. That's a 35-liter pack, and I've had a ton of people like, how do you put all that stuff in a 35-liter pack? And it's like, once you have to like live out of a backpack for like multiple months, you really figure out how to be efficient and like where you put things, what you actually need, what you don't need. And it happens pretty fast. And I feel like after your first hike, you definitely learn a lot about that. But then as you keep hiking and you keep doing trails and keep putting on miles, you learn so much more and things keep shedding. And I think there's a lot of people that think that people that use really lightweight gear or like small packs and stuff, that they're about the weight, that it's all about the weight. And it's really not. It's about like wanting it to be simple, because as you said, like when you get done at the end of a day, you're tired. Like you don't want to cook, you don't want to set up a tent, you don't want to do any of that. Like you just got done hiking a bunch of miles, you just want to get to camp and you want to crash out. And same thing in the morning, you want to break down camp, throw everything in and get to hiking. It just kind of becomes part of the ritual. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
You want to enjoy it and stuff, and to me, it's you take so much stuff and it becomes a chore.
Exactly.
And I learned quickly. I didn't ever think I'd do a bounce box, but then I learned, let me just do an experiment. And things I didn't actually use this for a few days, I threw it in the bounce box, shipped it up 100 miles, and just see, could I live without this stuff? And then all of a sudden, 100 miles later, and I was like, do I actually want to put this stuff back? And I was like, no, actually, I live without it fine. So I had that thing where I didn't want to let it go. Like maybe I was being a hoarder in a little bit in the hiking community, but I was able to let it go. But I had to do it in a two-step process.
Yeah, it can be hard to like let those favorite pieces of gear go and stuff that you were like, I remember being really excited about getting certain things whenever like I first got them. So then you get on trail and you're like, well, I can't send this home because like surely I'll eventually need this, and this is great. And then it doesn't last long.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, right on, man. Well, man, thanks for sitting and chatting with us, and I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're still staying motivated and getting out. And I know we talked the other night, and you said that you were going on a bunch of different walks, and that's excellent, man.
Yeah, I was even trying to do the running thing, but my shit, I was told maybe it's not. Well, Littleby actually mentions like maybe you shouldn't be running until you lost a little bit more weight, and I was like, yeah, maybe just do power walking.
Yeah,
like, super power fast.
So
walking.
at one time, I mean, I know you and I have had this conversation. I used to weigh 275 at my biggest, and I was the same way. Like I wanted to start running when I decided I want to start losing weight, but it's just I knew that like I was like, the knees probably can't handle it, the feet probably can't handle it yet. So I started cycling, and then I started walking, and then I started jogging, and then running, and oh yeah, you'll definitely get there, and it seems like pretty soon you're looking pretty svelte.
It's a work in progress, you know. I said this year, it's my goal this year. Just one step back, but two forward. Just keep going.
So for everyone that's watching that might not know, since you started the PCT, how much weight have you lost?
Well, I gained a little bit back this year, though. So I don't.
Well, how much have you lost total? Like, without gaining a little bit back, what did you lose?
Okay,
total?
so I originally got down to so Christmas time I kept hitting 400 constantly, and I think when I started the PCT it was 387, and then I got down to 295, and I gained a little bit back, and then just working back down. But I want to 100 pounds, and just 1 year you got off, and like I said, one step back but two forward, and another year. Now we're 2020. Let's get another 100 pounds off.
Heck yeah, awesome. That's awesome, man. Congrats on that too. Keep at it.
Congrats on your weight loss too. I don't think most people actually realize when you first told me that, and I actually, again, I kind of forgot completely, but I remember you actually saying that. It's like, yeah, I never pictured you yet. Yeah, you used to be a bigger guy too. That's incredible. I would love to see before and after pictures if you have them.
I could probably pull one of those. I'll send you one. I got one. I'll send you one.
Okay. I would be curious. I think other people would be curious.
I think I've popped one in a video every once in a while. It's been a while, but I think I've popped one in. I have this it was the last picture that was ever taken of me before I started losing weight. It was an ID picture, and they let me keep the ID when I got a new one, which they're not supposed to let you do that. But I got to keep it, and I snapped a picture of it with my cell phone. So it's like an old crappy flip phone, cell phone shot of a photo. But yeah, it tells a story for sure.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
Right on, man. Well, Bud, take care, and hopefully we can get a hug in soon in person, and that would be awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, sounds great, Darwin.
All right, man. See you. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me on and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much appreciated.
All right, Bud. Bye.
Right. Bye.
All right. So big thanks to Second Chance for jumping on here and chatting with us. We're going to keep this rolling. So we'll take a little bit of a talk show break, and I'll answer a couple random questions that are popping over here in the live stream, and then we'll go ahead and move on to our second guest, which will be Legend, also known as Jeff Garmeyer, also known as the Free Outside, also known as a pretty funny individual. So I'm pretty excited to have him on here. So let's see what questions we have over here. Danielle says, have I ever hiked the Ice Age Trail in Wisconsin? I have not. It's actually on my list. I've known about the Ice Age Trail for quite a while, and I might end up doing it. When? I don't know. You know, everybody always asks me, have you thought about doing this trail? Have you thought about doing this trail? I think about doing all the trails, but I got a list of importance. So there's some trails I definitely want to hike before I get up to the Ice Age Trail, but yeah, it's on there. All right, let's see what else we got here. What's the most miles you have hiked in a year? I don't know. Maybe 2018? Maybe 2018 I would have done the Pinhoti Trail, and then I would have done the PCT, and then a couple small section hikes. I think that year I probably did, I'll say a little over 3,000 miles. And then I also did a bike tour of the Blue Ridge Parkway. So if you want to add those miles on of cycling, yeah, it was up there. So just over 3,000 miles. That would probably be the most miles that I've hiked in a year. All right. Somebody said, I plan on going to Joshua Tree. What trails should I hike there? There's so many good trails. If you want a really long hike, the Boy Scout Trail is always great. I personally spend a lot of time in the east side of the park, so near the 29 Palms entrance. So you have Split Rock, you have Jumbo Rocks. The great thing about Joshua Tree is it's a very open park. So there's a lot of little offshoot trails that are just kind of everywhere, and you can basically just go and hike out into the Mojave Preserve. Definitely make sure that you know where you're going and you have a sense of direction, because obviously you could get lost out there. But I just kind of go out there and just kind of explore around the park and a little bit of everywhere. It's just a very big open desert preserve, the Mojave Preserve. So there's so much good stuff to hike out there. But yeah, if you want to hike one big long hike, I would say the Boy Scout Trail is a pretty good option. And personally, if you get a chance to go over to Split Rock, go check out Split Rock. That is probably one of my favorite little sections. Just these really big boulders, these big rock walls. Super beautiful over there. Love it. It is one of my favorite places. Let's see. What GoPro setting do you use on the trail? It depends on what I'm shooting. I've been shooting in 2K on the new one, because 4K just seems like a bit much for that camera. The 2K looks really good. And then if I'm talking to it, I shoot in 24 frames a second. If I'm shooting the trail or my feet or a moving shot, I shoot in 30 frames a second, and then I slow it down to 80%, which gives a nice, not slow motion, but a nice buttery, smooth look to it. Little tip there, little trick. Ladybird Tricks, thank you for the super chat. Ladybird says, thank you for doing these videos. You have truly been an inspiration to me, and your videos are so incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love doing these videos. It's so fun just to kind of be able to sit and talk, and, you know, as somebody said in last week's, kind of have a talk show. Not something I ever thought I would do. Everybody's been wanting me to do a podcast. I've been on some other people's podcasts that are really great, but I got so much going on with trying to shoot films, doing the YouTube videos, Instagram, normal everyday life. So doing a podcast it's a bit much to kind of commit to doing a podcast. So doing this is a great way, because I love connecting with other hikers. I love sitting down and chatting with other hikers. So this is a great medium for me. It's a great format. I'm making a video anyways. It's live, so I don't have to edit it, which is awesome. And yeah, I get to talk to a little bit of everybody and have you guys here to chat with as well. So thank you so much. All right, let's answer a couple more questions here, and we'll go ahead and bring on the next guest. Somebody says, what about your musical influences? Favorite bands? Ooh, that's a loaded question because I am a huge music geek. Huge music geek. I've been an audiophile since I've been a kid. I started collecting records when I was about 8 years old. My mom used to collect records. She was a big vinyl hound the whole time I was growing up, so I got into collecting vinyl very early. Going way back, probably my favorite band that has been probably my favorite band since I've been a kid is The Who. I'm a huge Who fan. Quadrophenia is one of my favorite all-time albums. It's the album that made me want to work on music. I used to own a recording studio, so that's really the album that made me want to edit and produce music. The one that really inspired me. Growing up, I was a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, still am. Massive blues and jazz fan. I love Albert King. I think Albert King is one of the greatest guitarists that's ever lived. Nick Drake. Nick Drake is probably my favorite songwriter that's ever lived. If you don't know who Nick Drake is, he made music back in the early 70s. He only put out 3 albums. Unfortunately, he passed away really young. Phenomenal songwriter. You've probably heard his songs and stuff, but didn't realize that you were hearing his music. So check him out. And I'm a big post-rock fan. So Sigur Rós is one of my favorite bands of all time. Explosions in the Sky, This Will Destroy You. I like a lot of that atmospheric, headspacey type music, which is what I hike to a lot, which is why you hear a lot of that type of music in my videos. So yeah, I could talk about music for days. I could do an entire video like this where all I do is talk about music. So, Can't Tame the Wind. Thank you for the super chat. Says, thank you for all that you do. How do you think this pandemic will affect next year's thru hiking? So yeah, I touched on that a little bit earlier. I think it will definitely affect the way we interact with each other, the way that towns interact with hikers as far as giving hitches, trail angels, stuff like that. I hope that's not the case, but you know, just like everything else, I think there's not going to be normal anymore. We're definitely going to be living in a different world, whether it's on trail or off trail. Hopefully it doesn't affect it in a negative way, but I think it will definitely be different. I'll get back to you next year and let you know how it affects it. And then P&W Sapper says, if you haven't listened to him yet, check out Billy Strings. I have listened to Billy Strings. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Like I said, I could talk music for days on here. All right, let's answer one more questions. Who it's going? Oh man, there's so many questions. Nick Drake, that is a sad story. Absolutely. Nick Drake had a very, very, very sad story, unfortunately. Live at the Leeds is the best live album. It's up there for sure. Absolutely, no question. And all I see is and Snuggles 2. I don't know where the first. I bless. Oh. I didn't see the first one. All I seen is where and Snuggles 2. If you're asking how Snuggles is doing, she's doing great. She is currently at work. She works an essential job. So she is serving the greater good at her job right now. And she should be home shortly, actually. So I think we're going to go for a short day hike as soon as she gets home a little bit later this evening. All right, so let me go ahead and send my next guest a message. Let's see. All right, so while they're getting connected, I will answer another. Am I vegan? I'm not vegan. I was a pescatarian for 8 years, which means that I was a vegetarian that ate fish. And I did that for about 8 years, and then I started eating meat again, but just fowl, fish and fowl. I'm not a big beef eater. I don't really eat pork at all. I will rarely eat pork. I probably haven't had beef in like 3 years. Just not a beef eater, just not a fan. Nothing, I don't have any problem with beef. I just not really a big fan of beef. So, but no, I am not vegan. I know there are a lot of vegan hikers though, and I always think that that seems so, it would be so tough to be vegan on the trail, especially like whenever you come to a Trail Magic and there's tons of cheeseburgers and hot dogs and stuff like that. I don't know how I could pass that up. So, even though I don't really eat cheeseburgers. All right, so let me grab my next guest on here. Let's make sure that they are all set and ready to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest, we'll make it sound exactly like a talk show. My next guest is the author of The Free Outside and a very accomplished hiker in the world of long distance hiking and one of the funniest dudes that I know. So, welcome, Legend. What's up, man? Oh, wait, I don't have audio for you. I can't hear you. Let's wait and let's see. Let's get him some audio in here. Still can't hear you. Oh, there you are. Now you are.
All right, there we go.
How are you doing, man?
Good, good. Just living the quarantine life up in Montana.
Yeah? Nice.
Yeah.
We're out in Montana. I don't know a lot about Montana. Bozeman?
Yeah, it's maybe an hour from Yellowstone before everything shut down. Went into the park and took some photos of buffalo.
Ooh, nice.
Or bison, I guess.
Bison. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something you get corrected on really quickly up there. You say, ooh, look at the buffalo. And people are like, it's not a buffalo.
Yeah, learned that one real quick.
Well, nice, man. So is Bozeman, I'm not familiar with Bozeman. Like I know Jackson Hole, like most people, if you've ever been up there. Is Bozeman, is it north of?
Yeah.
Is it?
So I think Jackson Hole is Wyoming, so north of Wyoming, Montana.
Nice. That's right. Oh yeah. Dude, there's like 5 cities, like maybe 5 towns in both of those states. There's like nothing in those states.
Oh, absolutely. Bozeman is a well-known town and there's 44,000 people, so it's tiny.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Dang.
there's only 1 million people in the whole state and it's like the 5th largest state, I think. So a lot of cows, a lot of guns, but not a lot of people.
Right. Yes. Ooh, I think I can hear my audio bleeding over from you. Does everybody else hear double audio? It's funny I ask that, but it'll be a while before they all get to hear that because there's like a lag.
Yeah. It didn't like my AirPod audio earlier, but let's see.
No.
Are you still hearing the bleed over?
I don't hear it now. Sorry, folks.
Okay.
We're dealing with some technical difficulties. That's what happens whenever you go live and you use a bunch of different technology that you don't quite understand. Somebody says no. Somebody said
If you
audio's
don't
good.
understand the technology, then I have no chance. So
Well, I'm glad I can take the blunt end of it.
yeah, no, you're to blame. Yeah.
All right, so let's carry on. So, good sir, to all these fine folks that might not be familiar with you, it's funny. I feel like we met in a very kind of strange way. Maybe you were featured in the film that I made last year, but I feel like I knew you before I knew you because. Like editing all that footage together. So for anybody watching, Legend was in 2019. Legend went out to set the FKT on the Arizona Trail while we were filming, and he accomplished said task. And oh, you got really big on my screen there for a second. See, again, technology, folks, it gets weird. So we were lucky enough to interview Legend before he had started his hike. And then I was currently on the trail, but Nemor, that went out and shot the film with me, had to get off the trail because of an injury, and he was lucky enough to be able to, I guess, timing was right, and he met up with you and did some interviewing with you. And then later on, when I went to edit the film, I started tapping into that footage, and then I reached out to you, and I was able to get, like, I honestly think, and everybody that's seen the film thinks that is like one of their favorite parts of the entire film, is that break in the middle where it kind of goes from, it goes from like documentary film to like guerrilla style, like somebody really going through some crap, which was your experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. So I met Nemor who interviewed me, and I said he could interview me as long as I could get a ride to the store because I was down there training to break the record, and so it was kind of a mutually beneficial arrangement there. And then he got the interview, and then throughout the hike, it was, when you're not interacting with a lot of people, I just interacted with either my iPhone or a GoPro, and then
Yeah.
sent you all that footage. And I was kind of glad that someone would do something with it because it sat there for a while, and I sure didn't do a lot with it.
Yeah, man, it was great. At first, I'll be 100% honest, and I've wanted to tell you this. When I reached out and I was like, hey, man, do you have any pictures or anything that like you might have like randomly shot on your cell phone of your hike? Because like Nemor shot that interview, but like the only B-roll that we had of you was was you shopping, like you at the Dollar General. And I
Yeah.
was like, this doesn't really lend a good B-roll to tell this story. And I was like, maybe we can get a couple pictures of him. And like at first, like I just kind of wanted to feature you in there for a second. I was like, oh, well, we're just going to have him talk about what an FKT is and we'll move on. And what Legend sent me was basically his entire hike filmed on a GoPro. And like at first, whenever you sent it, I was like, oh man, it's GoPro footage. Like I can't use GoPro footage. And then as I'm sitting there looking through all that stuff, like light bulb goes off, and I was like, no, I am going to use it, and let's make it like, let's divert it from like this film that's a serious film, and let's like take it into this completely from the person who's doing something's aspect, which was great that you filmed that because it's just you by yourself filming you, and it was so cool to have you kind of um, I guess set up your hike because he had interviewed you before you had even started it, so you didn't know, if you were going to do it. You didn't know if anything, and it was so cool to be able to do it that way. And both times that we've shown the film live, and then every time that someone sees it and they send me back a comment, they always say that that's their favorite part of the entire film was watching you basically, like, especially the shot of you laying on the ground just going like that always got a good laugh like whenever we did a showing of it. So
Yeah, you did. You cut it perfectly to kind of show me unraveling throughout the 2+ week journey, and
yeah, man,
it was
it was so
good.
fun. It was so fun to see that. And then yeah, we got to meet for the first time at the premiere. You
Hmm.
happened to be here and came up for the premiere, which was an awesome time. um,
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about what a lot of folks on here might not be familiar with what you've done, which was basically what you wrote about in your book, and that is accomplishing a calendar year Triple Crown. And for folks that don't know what that is, that's hiking the entire Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail, which usually takes people like 3 years to do. Legend did it in 12 months, which is insane to me. How long was exactly your time again?
252 days, so about 9 months.
Jesus. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things that like even a through hike when you start, I'm sure you know that like you can't imagine 2,000 plus miles. So imagining or trying to think about 8,000 miles was pretty much impossible. So it was really just the one resupply to the next, and that became my life rather than crossing off miles along the way. It's anything that's that long, even thinking a year down the road, especially in these times, is so impossible just because you don't know what's coming next. But
Yeah.
I just remember vividly week 2 in the Smokies, and it dropped to like -10 or -15, and I was thinking to myself like, oh my god, I have 9 more months of this. Like, what did I sign up for?
So when did you started with AT. What
Mhm.
what date did you start?
February 5th, I started
Wow.
at Springer. Yeah, it was cold. It was
Yeah.
actually really nice for it was really nice for 3 days, and then the real weather hit. So it was like this honeymoon, like, oh, I'm on the trail. This is going to be great. And then 3 days later, like immediately humbled with the first of probably 4 or 5 snowstorms along the way.
I bet. Yeah. Do you know Dan Bine Knott's? Are you familiar with
Yeah,
Knott's?
yeah, I know him a little bit.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
Knott's was trying to do that a handful of years ago, we were in contact. He's a friend. We were in contact while he was doing it. He was the same thing. Like he was so jacked to start, and he said like he
yeah,
got in like the first week, and he's just like it humbled him really quick. He's just like, oh wow, like this is like this is going to be completely different. Um,
yeah. It's just I don't know, luck's involved, like training, logistics, but yeah, there's like this undercurrent of luck where it's such a mindset thing and also can't get injured and stuff too. It's I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like I'm glad I did it, but I can't imagine wanting to do that again.
right. So on top of that, you are very well known for setting some FKTs. What's your list as of now? What have you
Um,
set FKTs on?
yeah, I did the Arizona Trail about exactly a year ago. This might be my
Yeah,
finish anniversary about that.
yeah,
So, so happy anniversary to me.
yeah, man!
And
Happy
then,
anniversary.
and then the Pinhoti Trail, and then the Long Trail, and then after that I had seen enough of America, so I moved to Costa Rica for 2 months, and then I broke the record running to the top of the highest point in Costa Rica, which is like 12,400 feet or something, and
Nice.
then and then I set one more smaller record running one of the beaches there. So I just picked up and moved to Costa Rica for 2 months and lived on like $10 a day. It was pretty awesome.
I hear you can do that too. Like I have some friends that used to live in Costa Rica for like, I think they lived there for 6 years or something, and they said
Yeah.
it's a really cheap place. Like you can get by on like basically nothing there.
Yeah, and it's like I made enough writing to live that way, so it was kind of like it's a country with good internet, and you don't really need anything else. And as long as you don't spend any money on beer, you can make your budget work really well.
Right. Nice. So when was your well number one, so you basically then you started the FKT thing last year. So you basically it was just a year of nothing but FKTs basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I worked at a ski resort and trained in Tahoe before the Arizona Trail. And then, yeah, just dedicated myself to living cheaply and trying to push my body. So I did the calendar year Triple Crown and the Great Western Loop, which are 7,000 miles and 8,000 miles in one year each. So 2016 and 2018. And so I'd push the envelope as far as going far, and I just wanted to see if my body could go fast. So tried tried to do the something a little different.
Yeah, it's wild. I think that there's a lot of people that maybe, and I think that we tried to, we captured that soundbite in the film of you, which was an awesome soundbite that you gave us, where you said that, and I've always thought that too. There's a lot of people that like, why does somebody want to do something so fast? And for everybody that's watching, because everybody keeps asking what an FKT is, it's a
Yeah,
fastest known time of a trail. So
it's like a
hiking,
speed record.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
speed record. It's hiking from one end to the other and doing it the fastest. Um, and there's basically an FKT of like everything now. Like everything has an FKT. Like
yeah,
like running around the block. Like I'm sure you can. I'm sure folks that right now you could go set an FKT. Get out, run around your block, set the FKT in your neighborhood.
yeah,
Um,
and then do it faster tomorrow and keep
yeah.
breaking on the FKT.
um, so then I forgot where I was at. I had a brain fart. Um, oh, so the soundbite that you gave us, which I thought is was really really good and made a lot of sense because it's something that I've said. I've never attempted an FKT, but I raced triathlon for 8 years, so I
Oh
come from
yeah,
a super competitive background, and it's always been in the back of my head, like one of these days, like I'm gonna get back into that super, um, competitive side of me, and I'm gonna compete with myself, which is, if anybody has ever done a through hike, it's basically doing a regular through hike. You're competing with yourself. Every day you're convincing yourself to
yeah,
stay on trail
yep,
or get off trail. So I've always found it very fascinating on FKTs, and it's always interested me. But you said that I think there's a lot of people that think that you miss out on things. You don't get to quote unquote stop and smell the roses. And
Mhm.
I think the soundbite that you said was, um, you still get to experience everything that you get to experience on a regular through hike. You're just experiencing it at a different speed and in a different way. So you don't really feel like you're missing out on anything. You're just getting to see it in a different light, which I thought was really amazing.
Yeah, it's just it's almost not a through hike. It's just a completely different way to experience the same terrain. It's kind of like equating through hiking to through biking or something. It's just kind of a different way to move through the same landscape, which is you do miss some things, but you get to see other things as well. Like hiking in the dark with moon shadows is
Yeah.
pretty magical. And on a regular through hike, that's not something you do too much. So I think it's just the big thing that it's not right or wrong. It's just different kind of thing.
Yeah. There's so many different ways to go about hiking, and like whether it's through hiking, just going out on a weekend trip, whether it's carrying 60 pounds of gear and a camp chair and a skillet, or going stoveless and sleeping on the ground every night. Like, I think that's the cool thing about the hiking world, right? Is like there's so many different ways that we can do it, so many different styles that you can get out. And at the end of the day, regardless of how you're enjoying it, it's all just about getting out and enjoying it, getting out and using public lands, getting out and experiencing the things that we've set aside to enjoy, which I think is super cool any way you do it.
Yeah, I think that even broader, just experiencing public lands, whether you drive up a dirt road and car camp or run the dirt road or bike it or hike through the trails and stuff, I think that's the important thing that like no other countries have the level of public lands, and some of
Yeah,
the public lands we have are like top notch. So I think
yeah,
exploring them and using them because they are such a gift that we got.
absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about, because you said we have a connection of a trail, which is the Pinhoti Trail. So
Yeah,
do you still hold the FKT on the Pinhoti?
I don't, I don't, hmm. I'm gonna say I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't really.
Somebody out there will fact check.
Yeah,
There'll be a
yeah, I'm sure.
comment.
I'm sure. I know someone went for it, but I don't know. I didn't. I kind of got lost in this whole pandemic recently.
Yeah, so did the rest of us. um,
Hence,
um,
we're here, not on trail.
right, right. So, what drove you to go out to do the Pinhoti Trail? Like, what? Because I know, like, the Pinhoti Trail for me, and it's funny. I tell people this all the time. People almost think that I'm joking. I didn't know anything about the Pinhoti Trail. Honestly, didn't even know that it was there. And there's a Wikipedia page of nothing but long distance trails, and usually I don't do it to go do a hike because I usually have a hike set in mind. Usually I'll just go and be like, oh, I want to learn about a new trail. Like, I wonder if what trails are in Wisconsin. So like I'll go and like see if there's any long distance trails in Wisconsin. And I literally
Yeah.
went to Wikipedia and I was cruising down through it and I closed my eyes and I literally put my finger on the screen and it was the Pinhoti Trail. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go through like the Pinhoti Trail. And then in preparation for it, that was uh, end of 2017 when I was planning on doing it. There was like no information on that trail at all. Like there was no gut hook yet. There was nobody's vlog. I saw a couple quick videos and I found one guy's trip report that had done it like years ago where he had labeled miles, like certain, like there's a general store at this mile. There is a shelter at this mile. And that's all it was. And that was old. So all of that stuff was out of date. And that's what I went off on the hike on. And that's why I chose it, because I wanted to do a trail that I had no research on and just go into it blind. So what is it that got you out to do that?
Well, I've always wanted to, since I was little, visit all 50 states, and after becoming more in the hiking world, I've tried to find ways to hike and see maybe the best natural parts of all 50 states. And of course, I'd been to Georgia, but I'd never been to Alabama and didn't know too much about Alabama other than maybe the stereotypes that are out there, anyways. So it was, and this was during the kind of divisive time a year ago with some of the Alabama decisions. And it was like, well, all I see is Alabama on the news. I'm just going to swim upstream, go to Alabama, hike the Pinhoti Trail. And I went and set the FKT. It was more of, um, the goal was more to go and see Alabama. I'd heard this section was beautiful through Alabama, and I just thought that I could cross it off my list and see the state in a way that most people that live there don't get to see it. So that was the genesis for the idea of the Pinhoti Trail. There was a gut hook, but the actual trail itself was very rugged and overgrown, and like legs itched constantly through
Especially
some of the
there
sections. Yeah.
in Georgia towards the end, like where
Hmm.
that stream is. Did you get turned around right there? Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a certain. It looks like the trail keeps going straight. It's literally like the last day of the trail.
Yeah. No, I went straight. I went the wrong way, like for 20 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I ended up hiking like almost 3 miles off of the trail and ended up in a neighborhood. There's like eventually a neighborhood.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I couldn't figure out where I was going. It's the only time I've
Yeah.
ever really
No,
been
I
lost on a trail.
I remember that so vividly. Yeah. Luckily, I had a GPS and saw that I was not on the trail anymore and had to go get to do bonus miles right at the end.
Nice. So did you? So what was the record that you set on it?
Whew. I don't know. Someone might have to look that up. Maybe about a week, I think. No, maybe 8 days. I don't know. Um, I'm sure you got people that'll definitely look it up.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I haven't been paying attention. They could be already saying it, but um, whew. Man, talk for this long like your throat start. That's why I got all the liquids. I got like 3 bottles of water here and a thing of tea.
Yeah.
Trying to get the
Well, you're a talk show host now, so you got to get used
apparently,
to
yeah. So one thing that I want to ask you about because I think is one of the special things. Now, obviously, you were doing an FKT, so you might not have gotten the chance to. But one of the most special things about the Pinhoti to me was getting to meet a legend in my mind and somebody that I've looked up to for a long time, which is Nimblewill Nomad. Most people don't know this, and Nimblewill might not like me giving this information out. No, I think it's pretty well known that he's up there, but he lives at Flag Mountain, which is the start
it.
of the Pinhoti. Did you get a chance to run into Nimblewill whenever you were up there?
No, I looked around and I couldn't find him there actually, so I did not get that chance. But yeah, heard everything about it before I even got to the trail, and I've never done less research than I did for the Pinhoti Trail. So,
Nice.
but he, I knew about him before even getting to Flag Mountain. So yeah, he's definitely a legend.
Yeah, he's definitely hiking lore. I feel like at this point, like a lot of people know about him but have never seen him. That's what was wild
Yeah.
to me is I didn't know he was up there. I had no clue he lived up there, and
Oh,
I couldn't find the start of the trail. So you know how most people
mhm.
think it starts at the tower, which it does not for anybody watching.
Yeah,
It starts literally down a road, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like you would never know where the start of the trail is if somebody didn't tell you where it was.
yeah.
And we walked around Flag Mountain for 30, 45 minutes, could not find the start of the trail. I was hiking it with another guy, and my wife had drove us down to Alabama and dropped us off. And the plan was to, meet her when we got done with the trail. She would come pick us up at the end. And we walked around forever, and we saw a sign that said that there were cabins at Flag Mountain, and there was a caretaker on duty. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's somebody down there that can tell us where the damn start of this trail is. So we walked all the way
Yeah.
down there, and that's how like I met him. And at first, I didn't. The image of Nimblewill that I have in my head is the Nimblewill that I watched. So he's like one of the most old school, like the OG YouTubers. Like he's got a YouTube channel from a long time ago. Um, I remember when he did his PCT hike in 2008, like he had posted all those videos, and that's the Nimble I have in my mind. Well, he's obviously since aged, um,
Yeah.
and he's a lot thinner now than he used to be. So whenever I first met him, I had no clue it was even him until we started getting in a conversation, and he introduced himself to me, and it's just like I totally fangirled out, like tried to contain it as much as possible, and yeah, it was a pretty cool experience, but yeah, it's, for everybody that's watching, anybody that's been thinking about doing the Pinhoti Trail, and I know that it's grown in popularity over the last couple of years, it's such an amazing trail for being like kind of this trail that not a lot of people know about. Um, Talking about the Alabama section of the trail, like it's amazing. Like there's some really
Oh, yeah.
beautiful stuff. What is it, Okie Mountain? That whole that
Yeah.
whole section's amazing.
And
Uh,
it's you can connect it to start your Appalachian Trail through hike too,
Absolutely.
which I think it's so Flag Mountain's the southernmost arguable Appalachian Trail Peak or something.
Yeah, and most people will. I think there's an old story that it was originally supposed to be the start of the AT. Like at one time, it was in the running to they were going to start the AT at Flag Mountain, and then it ended up not happening. They started it at, I can't think of the name of the original mountain, because Springer's not the original mountain either.
Yeah, it's like third choice. Yeah.
And it never happened. So then years later, somebody's like, oh, well, we should connect, or not connect, but we should make the trail that was going to be the AT, which is what ended up being the Pinhoti Trail. And then it's like, what, 30 miles?
Sorry, someone just came in.
No, it's okay. And then it's
interrupting the studio.
Don't you have one of those on-air quiet please signs that you put? No,
not the applause sign either.
Oh, that's sad. I'm gonna get you an applause sign, man. Everybody needs one of those. But yeah, it's a pretty amazing trail. I can't think right now of the name of the what's the wilderness that it goes through? The Chia Wilderness.
Yeah, that's the state park too. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what an amazing section of the trail. Like, it's so pretty through there. And I never would have thought that like the Pinhoti would look like that Alabama would look like that.
Yeah.
I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize when they're going to go out and do it.
Yeah, it's kind of the hidden gem. I guess you think of lakes in Alabama and stuff like that, but it does have some really cool wilderness and mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know what your plans were for the year. And, we won't get into that because everybody's tired of talking about the things that they can't do. So going forward, what do you kind of have your mindset on going forward as far as what you want to tackle maybe at the end of this year if all of this lifts and we can all go back to living normal life, or even going into next year? What are your plans?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing set in stone is the Barkley Marathons. Supposed to run them this year, but it'll be 2021 now, so I guess gives me like a year to train for them. And I guess to explain the Barkley Marathons, it's like the most obscure ultra marathon, no GPS involved, self-supported, 26 miles at a time, and it totals about 130 miles. And then we can get in the weeds as much as we want with everything else. But
oh, man.
Yeah, that's been a goal for over 3 years. And so getting in this year, I was ready to run through rural Tennessee in that race, but unfortunately, like everything, that was canceled. But
what inspired you to want to go do the Barkley?
I saw the original documentary on
that's what I was
Amazon
ask you.
Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like, wow, this is cool. No one ever finishes it. It's like, I want to try.
What is it? What is it to get in? A license plate, a shirt, and a pack of smokes?
It's so for first timers for me this year, I would have had to bring a license plate from my home state. So I had a Oregon license plate. And then if I failed, reapplied and got in next year, that's when it would be, he names a random item. So it could be a shirt. This year it was going to be a 12 pack of an obscure soda brand. And then if I finished and then I wanted to run it next year for some reason, that's when I would bring a pack of smokes.
Nice. That it's got such a wild history to it and such a wild story to it. For anybody out there that has never seen the doc, I can't remember. Is it just called the Barkley? I think is the name of the documentary.
Yeah, the race that eats its young, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Go watch do a little research on the Barkley. We're all trapped inside anyways. You want some really good entertainment. You want to be super inspired by just pure craziness.
Yeah. Or just think people are so weird to create a race like that. It's inspired by a prison escape, actually. So it's really strange.
Yeah, definitely go check it out, folks. You won't be disappointed, I promise.
Yeah.
So somebody I saw earlier had asked the question, where did your trail name come from? Where did Legend come from?
Yeah, so I started hiking, I think, before Darwin even knew about thru hiking back in 2011.
Yeah.
I did my first thru hike of the Pacific Crest Trail at 20 years old. And some trail names were bouncing around the first 300 miles. And then we got to Wrightwood, went into town, came back out of town with the group I was hiking with, and we made the dumb mistake of not packing out any town food. Like, we should have brought a pizza out to eat on the trail the first night or something. It was a big mistake, but I was the youngest in the group, so I said that I would go back into town and come back with the pizza. And no one thought I could get a hitch that late at night or anything, but walked to the trailhead in my Crocs, hitchhiked down into town, got a pizza, hitchhiked right back to where all my stuff was still sitting, hiked in with the pizza to Grassy Hollow Visitor Center, and sat around with 8 other hiking friends, and they said that the act was legendary, so the name Legend stuck. And
Nice.
after doing some longer, faster things, now it just sounds conceited, and I named myself, but it's a good origin story.
Well, yeah, it's not as conceited as it could have been. It could be just
yeah.
like, I'm a legend. That's why. That's what you should have delivered. Just be like, do I need to explain
Yeah.
why?
Are you kidding me? What a dumb question.
So for everyone that's out there watching, because everyone's always interested, and I know that you are a self-proclaimed not such a gear geek, because I remember you posted whenever you got done with your AZT FKT, you had posted some picture of all your gear laid out, and like kind of made a funny comment to like you had no clue what the base weight was, don't really know what it was. I believe that it was one of your very legendary semi-nudes of you laying around some gear, which are, if you're not following this guy on Instagram, you definitely should be, because he's really great with self-promotion. I'll just say that.
Yeah, you'll catch me wearing tiger print tights and tiger sweatshirts and tastefully nude photos. So yeah, there's a lot you bargain for when you hit follow.
So I guess to answer probably what's on a lot of people's mind, let's kind of go over some typical gear questions. So what is your current shoe of choice, or what did you rock last year during all these FKTs?
Yeah, lately, the last 2 years, I've been using either Hoka Speed Goat shoes for faster, longer things. And then last year, I used Adidas outdoor shoes. So I used the Terex 2 quite a bit, and then Trace Rockers. But moving more towards Hokas, and they're so soft that I think I'm going to get spoiled and be stuck in them forever.
Do you have a narrow toe box or toe splay?
Pretty narrow everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to rock Hokas, man. I just like, I have the widest, fattest toes and feet. Like I just
Yeah.
can't get my foot into those shoes. It kills me.
Yeah, let me throw the disclaimer that I try not to influence too much shoe stuff, because just like you said, everyone is so different that
Yep.
if everyone forced their foot in zero drops or like thin shoes or what I wear, then they might have some serious foot problems. Whereas I'm sure I don't wear the same stuff everyone else does.
Exactly.
Footwear's the one thing where it's kind of like you should just go try it on. It's hard to tell you what you want to wear.
Right. So that's your shoe of choice. What is your, let's say if you're not doing, well, it's a two-part question. If you're not doing an FKT, what is your favorite go-to meal to eat on the trail?
Ooh. Hmm. Well, if I am doing an FKT, I
Okay,
do
let's go with
love
that. Yeah.
I love wraps. So like a tortilla, a slice of cheese, some pepperoni, a mayo packet, and a mustard packet. That's it's like the quickest filling, like fake sandwich type of thing you can make on the trail. So I like that for FKTs. And so for regular hiking, probably frozen burritos.
You're kind of known for the frozen burrito thing, aren't you?
Yeah, so you buy like $4 dozen of El Monte burritos, and in one day they've thawed, and so then you can start eating them, and they're good for 2 or 3 days after that.
Have you ever had the Tina's burritos? Like that's
Yeah, I've
real.
had.
That's bottom of the barrel. Bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, yeah. I've on the Arizona Trail speed record. I resupplied out of a gas station, and I was definitely eating bottom of the barrel stuff, because when you cross that highway north of probably where you are in Flagstaff, there's like a Dollar General a mile down the highway and like a gas station
Oh,
a
yeah.
quarter mile. And it was like, I'll save the extra mile of walking pointless miles and just did it right out of the gas station.
Nice. Where
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you because you said it in the footage that we put in the film. What vending machine did you resupply out of on the AZT? This isn't for everybody else.
It's
This is just for me.
Yeah, it's a Patagonia has a vending machine there, and there's like sandwiches right by the. It's pretty. I think there's like that police department or something there, but there's a vending machine right at that corner.
Really?
Yeah, maybe it's outside the bakery or something, but nothing else was open when I went through. And then I was just lucky there was decent enough food in that vending machine that I spent more than I have in probably 10 years out of a vending machine that one day.
That's awesome. All right. So next question. So frozen burritos if you're luxury hiking, which is pretty. That's pretty luxury. And
Yeah.
and then let's see. Ooh, somebody said lives for the El Monterey ghost pepper burritos. RJ Hikes says that he lives for the ghost pepper ones. I didn't
Oh,
know they made a ghost pepper burrito.
I didn't either, but I'm gonna have to check that
That's
out.
fancy.
Yeah.
And then what pack did you rock last year? What are you using on your hikes now?
I've used a light AF pack
Oh,
for like longer carries, custom things. So I did that. So the long trail was 6 days unsupported. So everything for 6 days I carried in that pack. And then I use a Gossamer Gear Kumo for kind of the more traditional 3 to 4 day resupplies.
nice, classic.
Yeah.
Kumo's been around for quite some time. I was first introduced to that from Nemor. Nemor was carrying a Kumo forever.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good pack that seems to work pretty good. It's one you definitely can't overload or you're kind of screwed as far as how it carries. But if
right.
you're nothing too heavy, it's a pretty good pack.
Nice. And any plans on doing another book?
Yeah, there's one in the process, but a book is the hardest thing, maybe equatable to making your future feature length movie. It's one of those things that you don't know how hard it is
Yeah.
until you're in the middle of it, and then it's like, ugh, I have to keep going, but this kind of sucks.
How long was this process? How long did it take you to?
Probably 2 years, but I had a couple years where I was, or about a year and a half of that, I was working um, well north of 40 hours a week. So it was kind of the ebb and flow of writing it. It was a book is kind of like the first draft isn't hard, but getting it from that kind of turd to something a lot nicer.
Shining it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it felt. But yeah, I like knowing the process now where it's like just plug away at the long game compared to that book that you're holding was kind of like, wow, I didn't know it'd be so much work after just writing down all the words.
Nice. So yeah, so everybody that's watching, definitely check out Jeff's book, The Free Outside. Really great stuff in here, and this is about his Callan triple. So if you've ever wanted to know what it is like to basically force yourself to stay on trail for 9 months, this is a
Yeah,
perfect
it's
example of that. And
every day was perfect. Sunshine, rainbows, unicorns the whole way.
and are you still personalizing these whenever people order them?
Yeah. Yeah, if people either email me or hit me up on Instagram, I can arrange a footprint on your book or signed or
Ooh.
a haiku. I've been really just doing about anything. I don't think you'd
I
have
didn't get a
anything.
footprint. I mean
You got to,
I got a really nice
yeah,
letter and an awesome
yeah, it's
signature.
good penmanship, but
Man, I kind of want to. I'm going to send it back to you. I want a footprint now.
all right, well, we can arrange that.
We're right on, man. Well, thanks for jumping on here and chatting with us and spreading your knowledge of crazy hiking. I think that there's a lot of people out there that, I think that the extreme hiking, I don't know if I'd call it extreme. The FKT world and the calendar triple world, like, is like I feel like it's a tight knit, or it's a very a niche thing inside of an already niche thing. It's an enigma within an enigma. So
Yeah.
a lot of people, I think it's awesome that you were able to come on here and kind of give that perspective for a lot of people that are watching.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for having me. And looks like the question, is it on Audible? The audiobook will be out within the month. I can guarantee that. It's really close.
Are you
So,
narrating it?
yeah, I have it all narrated. Sound is all checked. I just got to figure out the upload process. So give me a month and buy some footprint books along the way, and I will have the audio out for all you
Nice.
hikers.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, take care, and hopefully we'll see each other soon and be able to get out on trail and do some hiking.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right,
Bye,
man.
everybody.
See ya. All right, folks. So big thanks to Legend for jumping on here and tickling our fancy with some kind of insane hiking. To do something like a calendar triple and go out for that long. I mean, I can't even imagine, like I know what it's like to just do the PCT. I know what it's like to just do the AT, but going out and hopping from trail to trail to trail like that, can't even imagine how mentally challenging that is. Not even on top of the physically challenging part of it, but the mental aspect. You got to have some hard, strong mental game for that. All right, so I'm going to answer a couple questions. So if you had a quick question real quick, if you want to fire it over here into the chat box, I'll answer a couple questions, and then we will bring on our third guest, who is Jupiter Hikes. So we'll have him on here in just a second. Let's see if we got any quick questions. Let's see. So hopefully it seems like we've had a pretty decent, I guess, what is that, watch rate. A lot of people have kind of stayed on for the whole time. So thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and sitting here and hanging out with us and just chatting while we're all getting through this weird time of being kind of cooped up in the house. Somebody said, I met Nimblewill Nomad in 2000 on the AT in Georgia. Nice. What's your best trip? I don't know. I've taken a lot of trips. And if we're talking about just hiking, I always like to think that the AT was probably, I won't say best, but probably my favorite hike or the most memorable, just because that's where I fell in love with all of this. It's the reason why you guys are watching me. It's the reason why I'm having people on here chatting with them, because that's when I was introduced to the long distance hiking community, to the hiking community in general. I'd been a hiker all of my life, but wasn't really connected to the greater community that we're all in. So I would say the AT in 2015 is probably my best trip, just because I really got to kind of be reborn and kind of, become a new person and see things in a different light and meet people in a different way. So yeah, the AT probably. Somebody says, what's for lunch? Water. I actually am a big time, get my face in focus here. I'm a big time intermittent faster. So I typically don't eat until around 4 p.m. My time. So I got a little bit to go before I eat. But yeah, I just fast every day. I'm not a big morning time eater anyways. I've been doing that since I got off the PCT in 2018. And I don't do it when I'm on trail. When I'm on trail, I eat breakfast and lunch and dinner and snacks as much as I can. But when I'm off trail, yeah, I just fast. Gives me a lot of energy, which is nice. Let's see, what was my most dangerous situation on trail? I get questions like that all the time about what was my most dangerous situation, what was my scariest. A long time ago, we were talking earlier, I said something about Miguel's and Red River Gorge in eastern Kentucky, which we will be bringing back up with my next guest. But I was in Red River Gorge, it's probably going back to 2013, And Snuggles and I were out for a 2-day backpacking trip. We were camped just off the trail, and we were woke up at 2 a.m. in the morning. It was like 1 or 2 or 3. It was really early in the morning, by somebody yelling if there was anybody in there, anybody in our tent. They were flashing or swinging flashlights all around our tent. It scared us. We woke up, we looked out, and it was 2 forest rangers that were coming to tell us that we needed to get out, that we needed to get off the trail, because there was a huge forest fire that was coming through Red River Gorge. It wasn't too far from our tent site. I still have no clue how they knew that we were there, because we were very far back off the trail. You got the trail that's going through Red River Gorge, the Shaltoe Trace Trail, and we had actually kind of bushwhacked a little bit. We'd come quite a bit off the trail and found this little camp spot near a creek. And I have no clue how they found us, but that was probably the scariest, is having to hike out of a forest fire. And as we left the part that we were in, we come up over this hill, we could look back and we could see the fire. Like, you could totally see the fire. So that was pretty scary. Let's see, what else do we have? Miguel's is the best, yeah. Let's see, do I ever get nervous being alone on a trail? No. Trail is basically home to me. I love it. Love being out there. I feel most comfortable when I am on the trail. And then someone said, are you sticking with the Altiplex shelter? Yes. I'll be doing a review of that for the time that I have spent in it. Probably coming up in the not too distant future. I did a video where I showed everybody how to do a perfect pitch on that and other one trekking pole tents. Put that out a couple weeks ago. But yeah, so far so good. Loving the Altiplex. It's been a really good tent for me. And then I'm going to answer one more question. Let's find a real good one. And I'm going to bring on my next guest. So, let's see. I like this question. What do you want your hiking legacy to be? That is a good, deep question. So I'm going to say I personally don't want to have a hiking legacy. I would love to leave a legacy for giving back to public lands, giving back to trail associations, and giving back to the things that we all love, that we're all using, that we all want to be a part of. That's why I made a film last year where we have so far raised over $13,000 for a public lands association, the Arizona Trail Association. That's why I've been doing small collaborations on my website, The Outdoor Evolution, and it's why I'll be making the film that I'm going to be making at the end of this year, is to be able to give back to public lands. It's something I believe in, always have, and I feel like with having some sort of a voice, with having all of you watching, that I can use that opportunity to help and promote and raise awareness for the thing that I really love, and that I have a lot of passion for. So if I was going to have a legacy, I guess that's what I would want my legacy to be, is somebody that helped bring more attention, and someone that helped protect public lands. So yeah, that would be it. All right, let me send my next guest a message and we will get them on here. All right, so while we're waiting on him to connect, let's see if we got another random question we can grab real quick. I'm amazed at how much these trail associations accomplish with virtually zero budget. Yeah, you know, a lot of it is because of volunteer hours. A lot of it's because of people getting out, getting dirty, swinging a pickaxe, raising some money for it, making a film, doing something to give back, helping raise money for these awesome nonprofit associations. So please do that. If you have a trail association in your backyard, if you have spent time on a trail, your home trail, go out, see how you can get involved. Go become a member at the association. Most trail associations, it's like $20 a year to be a member, and just that $20 helps them maintain that trail. It helps them do upkeep. It helps them put in new blazes and signage so we can all go out and enjoy it. So definitely get involved with your local trail association. All right, folks, I'm going to bring on my next guest. Let me see if I can figure out the crazy technology here. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is Jupiter. What's up?
Hi, how are
What's
you
up,
doing?
man?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Sweet. What's
Yeah,
going on, man? How are you doing?
not too shabby. How you doing?
I'm good. It's been nice to sit down and watch all the other people today, Second Chance and Legend, and listen to their stories and hear what's going on with them.
Yeah, have you held in there the whole time with us? Have you been watching the
I
whole time?
have, yeah, since
Nice.
since the beginning. I've been hanging out,
Nice.
answering some little questions in the chat about Florida Trail or otherwise.
I'm gonna have to like come up with a patch or something to like reward people that like sit through this entire thing and listen to me babble.
Yeah, like a rare digital medal that only the listeners get.
Ooh, that's smart. So what's going on, man?
Nothing too much. I'm currently in Phoenix where my girlfriend lives and, basically just self-quarantined and I guess painting a lot and working on videos and stuff like that and, trying to make the best of my time.
Yeah, trying to not go crazy. Like I'm sure a lot of people out there have kind of hopefully not gone over that edge yet and just kind of lost it a little bit. I'm sure
Oh
we've
yeah,
all lost it a little bit.
absolutely. Been there and back and as you know, been there and back, but just trying to keep myself busy with little things and I don't know. Yeah, just looking forward to the future. Forward to
Yeah.
the future.
So you had we had, so for everyone that's watching, I was doing these over on Instagram, had a ton of requests to bring them over here onto YouTube so more of you could watch them and then watch the rebroadcast. So we chatted a little bit, what was that, like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, 3 weeks.
And you
I
were,
feel like I was still in Florida at that point.
yeah, I
So,
think that you
yeah.
were, yeah. So to kind of bring everybody up to speed, what your planned hikes this year were?
Well, I just finished the Florida Trail, Florida National Scenic Trail, 1,100 miles across the state of Florida, and I was planning on using that as kind of like a training hike or a primer to other bigger, even bigger things. Although 1,000 miles is already quite large, I was hoping to get out on the Pacific Crest Trail next, and then after that get out on, man, what was I even thinking? Oh, actually, I was Florida Trail, Arizona Trail, then Pacific Crest Trail.
It's good when you have a list that big that you're like, what else was I gonna hike?
I know, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I was super looking forward to the Arizona Trail. My girlfriend lives here. We had just finished the Florida Trail together, and I'd seen Darwin's film Through the Great Southwest and loved that, and was really preparing myself for this, and then everything else came along and all that's out the window. So now I'm just like, sitting at my girlfriend's house painting flowers.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
So do you, talking about your paintings, do you always go off of a subject, or do you need to look at something to paint? Because I always find that I've never been like artistic with a pencil or a brush or anything. My wife is totally like a painter, but I've never been able to do that. Do you need to see something, or do you do it off memory a lot?
Yeah, I seem to remember your wife having like an Etsy store of trail stuff in
Yeah,
the past.
yeah.
Yeah, does she still do that?
I honestly don't know if it's still up. She did that, and
Okay.
at one time she had like she has an art degree and stuff, so she was going to get
Cool.
into art therapy at one time, which is a
Cool.
really crazy like sub thing. But anyways,
Yeah, I prefer to work from like a photograph. I enjoy drawing from life, but whenever I draw from life, I draw it as if I'm like looking at it, so I get a weird like fisheye look, and I really like how those come out. But drawing from a picture, it's just what I like to do. But lately I have been doing like these, this isn't a real mountain or anything. It's just from out of my head. I call them like dreamscapes. You know,
Nice.
it's whatever I've been kind of thinking and dreaming up. And so those are just some mountains that, you know, I was thinking about that don't exist.
Right. So do you paint on trail? Do you take any type of painting supplies with you on trail? Have you?
Not frequently. This year I was really planning on like slowing down and hiking with my girlfriend, at least for the Florida Trail. So she had brought like her Kindle. I had brought like a Tenkara fishing rod, you know, plan on like
Nice.
stopping and fishing a little bit and stuff. And we just found I mean, we found it within like the first week or something that I guess we're more so hikers than we are so the stop. And so I don't know. There's this one lady through hiking the Florida Trail this year who was painting, and she brought oil paints along with her, which are very involved. And she was doing some amazing paintings with these oils. But
I
um,
met a brother and
she,
sister couple on the PCT going through the Sierra in 2018 that were both oil painting, which blew my
it,
mind. I'm like, how do you dry them? They're like, we just put them on the outside of our packs, and then when we get into a town, we make sure that they're as dry as they can be. We wrap them up the best that we can be, and then we just send them off to friends and family. And I was like, that's nuts.
yeah, her paintings are phenomenal. But even she brought up to me because she knows that I do like these watercolors that, you know, she just found she doesn't have the time that she thought she might have. So I think I'm going to stick to painting at home and hiking when I'm on the trails, you know? So I love working from photos, and I use all the photos that I take to then come home and have the inspiration to work on these other types of arts, you know, whether that's video or painting or otherwise.
So
You know?
do you have any background in painting? Did you go to school or anything for any type of art degree?
No, no type of art degree. I did go to like a magnet school for middle school and high school for the visual arts. And honestly, at that time, I think I was just good at art or something, if you could say that. Maybe had some sort of a talent for it, predisposed, but I didn't enjoy it that much. And it wasn't until actually like well after graduating those schools did I really find the love for it, and did I really like start to focus on it and look into it. And yeah, so no degree, just something I enjoy doing.
Nice, nice. And what do you paint with the most? Watercolor? Because it looks like all your stuff's watercolor, yeah?
Yeah, I actually originally I was a acrylic painter, and I actually for a year I taught acrylic painting
Oh,
classes
cool.
in Stewart, Florida. I should have told other people about that. Maybe other people would have liked to have taken a class from me, but yeah, so I was teaching acrylic painting classes in South Florida, and I really love doing that so much. But you know, I bought a little watercolor set, and you know, I guess the rest was history. I just loved it so much. I like the simplicity, and I like how all the colors layer on top of each other, and everything kind of comes out like whimsical looking
Yeah, yeah.
instead of yeah.
It's
So
funny you mentioned something about Tenkara fishing because I've for years thought about. I have a buddy that's really into Tenkara, and I've for years wanted to buy it like the smallest Tenkara rod that I could possibly buy, and not for through hiking, but for bike packing and doing a bunch of bike
mm,
packing stuff because that's almost become a thing now, like bike fishing. Like you go out on a bike packing trip, you bring your tackle and your
yeah,
Tenkara. Got a buddy who
they are awesome.
yeah, I got a buddy who's got a YouTube
Like
channel called Pathless Pedaled, Russ,
mm,
and he does a lot of that, like a whole lot of it, like doing custom mounts and stuff on his bike for his rod and all of his flies. And
cool.
yeah, yeah. So
I don't even think you would need the smallest one possible. Mine, they all telescope. So mine, it's maybe like this big, a few feet in length, but then it telescopes out to like 20 feet or
oh
something.
wow,
So, and even then, it's so long, but it's made of carbon fiber, and it only weighs like 2 ounces with the rod, the line, the flies, all that stuff. So, you know, it's
wow.
super light, and even if you get a really big one meant for like catching larger fish, it still like it's almost as though you didn't have it. I used my rod twice on the Florida Trail, once just to make my girlfriend happy, and I carried it the entire way and barely even noticed it was there.
Wow.
So,
Is it by Tenkara Rod Company? Is that who makes yours?
um, who made mine was Tenkara Bum or Ten
Oh,
Bum,
okay.
which is a company out of
Yeah.
Japan. I think I'd probably recommend like Tenkara USA just because they're here in the United States. it would be easier to get customer service and all that stuff from them
Sure.
rather than I just wanted like Japanese because it's a Japanese
Tenkara,
sport.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to chat about with you today is I feel like it's been this thread like in kind of conversation today. Like Legend and I were talking about it, but to let everybody know out there, like I had this really weird thing happen to me this week where a handful of days ago was telling a friend about a man named Nimblewill Nomad, which me and Legend were talking about. And then the very next day, I got an email from Nimblewill, and I hadn't heard from him since like 2018. And then it was yesterday or the day before, the day after I got that email, Jupiter posted a picture whenever he met Nimblewill, and I just thought it was this strange like universe like trying to connect us kind of thing. So when did you get to meet Nimblewill?
Well, I've known of Nimblewill for a long time, and he's one of those legendary hikers out there from, a generation past or whatever, like the people that really like made through hiking a thing for all of us to enjoy. Nimblewill Nomad has well over 30,000 miles, probably upwards of 50,000 miles on long trails. He's hiked every national scenic trail. He's hiked so many others in between. He's circumnavigated the United States by walking. So just crazy. And the reason
Route 66, like that was kind of like the last trek that he did.
That was the last trek he
Yeah.
did. He walked the entirety of Route 66, like a 2,000-mile road walk. Like the guy is on some other level of hiking.
Have you, a quick caveat, have you ever heard about this, whenever he was doing that, the story of the guy that was basically trying to track him down the entire time he was out there so he could interview him? You ever heard that story?
Was it John?
It wasn't John. Was John trying to track him down too?
He was, yeah.
Seems like something John would do.
But there was a great article. I can't remember who published it, but someone had joined Nimble for a couple of days, maybe in Texas or something.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, it's a weird interview.
Yeah.
But I feel like his views are different than mine, and your views are different than mine, and we can all be friends.
Absolutely.
Nimble is an interesting dude.
Yes, he is.
And that interview really shows it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that guy was tracking him down the whole way.
Yeah, from what I understand, I remember listening to it was a podcast. I was on the Pinhoti, which is funny because I'll just listen to random podcasts, and it was after meeting him. And then I was near, I think I was when I was coming out of Dalton. I randomly just downloaded I can't even remember what podcast it was, and someone was talking about him, and it was just like totally out of left field, and talking about how they had just read an article about a guy who was trying to track him down for a long time, and they just started telling the story of it. The author of that article was on the podcast talking about how he had spent like a better part of 2 months trying to get a hold of Nimblewill, reaching out to everyone that he possibly knew to find out where he was, and Nimblewill didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Sure. Yeah, I think he said if you can find me, you can interview
Exactly.
me.
Yeah, which is genius.
So I knew of Nimblewill Nomad because of the Eastern Continental Trail, and I believe that was his first long distance hike back in the 1990s. And that was a 4,400 mile hike. When he did it, I don't know. When I added it up, it came out to more like 4,800. But the Eastern Continental Trail, I wound up doing that in 2016. And so I had followed Nimble's journey and used him as a reference for all of my information to plan out this massive hike connecting the International Appalachian Trail all the way down to Key West.
This was my caveat. I was going to get you on the topic of
Yeah. So Nimblewill Nomad he wasn't the first person to ever do this trek. He was I believe the second one, and he was the one who popularized this trek. He was the one that wrote a book about it, 10 Million Steps. And, it's twice the distance of the Appalachian Trail, or I thought even more. So it connects these 7 different long trails, the IAT, the Appalachian Trail, the Bent MacKaye Trail, the Pinhoti Trail, the Alabama Hiking Trail, the Florida Trail, and then like the Overseas Heritage Trail and some other stuff. And so I calculated about 4,800 miles, and I actually didn't hitchhike at all on that hike. I walked in and out of all my
Really?
towns. So yeah,
Is there a
I didn't
reason?
hitchhike. Just, I don't know, I guess for purity or something. I just felt like I was out there to walk, so walk I was going to do.
Nice.
So my first day, or day 0 really, was walking 30 miles from the airport to the trailhead. Yeah. So anyway, Nimblewill Nomad made this hike. It's a massive thing, and I had heard, or actually when I got down to Alabama, I'm like 3,000 miles into this thing, I saw in one of the trail registers that Nimblewill Nomad had signed in recently, that he was doing trail work down there. I thought, oh my God, Nimble is here. This guy that, I've been following in his footsteps for months at this time. And I never got to meet him because at the time, the trail didn't pass over Flag Mountain.
Oh.
So it was actually after that year they rerouted it, and Nimble was staying up on Flag Mountain. And I actually...
So was the Pinhoti knot, or was the Eastern Continental knot?
The Pinhoti.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep, it was Nimblewill Nomad that actually rerouted the trail. Flag Mountain is the southernmost mountain the southernmost 1,000 foot mountain in the Appalachian Trail range. And at the time, the trail routed around it.
I didn't know
I
that.
thought I was on it. Yeah, me neither. And I was actually there on my birthday. I had just finished the Pinhoti Trail, and like I must have been, just a mere mile or two away from this guy that I really looked up to.
Right.
So I never met him then, and I actually met him recently at this like hiker gathering in South Florida. It's called Billy Goat Day, which actually celebrates another very well hiker's birthday. So it was cool. Billy Goat was there, another like 50,000 mile hiker, up in his 80s. Nimblewill Nomad was there, 50,000 miles in his 80s or plus. And then there was the founder of the Florida Trail, like Jim Kern, and just these incredible like legends of the trail that had, like really paved the way for us to be out there. So
awesome.
I got to meet him and talk to him briefly, but not too much. I didn't even know you had met him in the past or knew him.
Yeah, man.
But
it was such a weird meeting. Like I feel like it wasn't even supposed to happen. I got lost. I couldn't figure out. So a lot of people think that the Pinhoti Trail starts at the tower, but it totally doesn't. It starts like down a road. The trail is just kind of like in the middle of nowhere. So my wife dropped me and a buddy off at the tower. We walked up to the tower to start. She took off. And like it's way back on like old roads and stuff, so it's not close to anything. And we get up to the tower and cannot find like the first blaze. We cannot find where the trail starts. So we just walked around Flag for like 30, 45 minutes, couldn't find anything, and finally decided to walk down to the Flag Mountain cabins because we saw a sign that it said that there was somebody on duty there from like certain time to certain time. And we saw smoke coming out of one of the chimneys. And I was like, oh, I'll go ask whoever it is where the start of this trail is. Walk in, get this. I won't give this story up too much. You got to go listen to the Trail Tales podcast. I told this entire story on that podcast. Yes. And read Land of the Free at the end of it for everyone that had never heard it. And go down there, and he's got this little Nimblewill. He's got this little these two cardboard walls in the corner of this stone building. It's like a completely open like shelter place, and it's got like, it looks like a kid's fort. Like it's got a little cardboard door on it and stuff. And I kind of popped my head in and I was like, hello, is anybody out there? And like I just hear this name, or like this voice come out of this, and he's like, hold on just a second, I'll be out there in a second. I'm like, all right. Comes out, and as I was telling Legend, the Nimblewill that I have in my brain is like Nimblewill back in 2008 whenever he was like doing the PCT. It's like that, I'd seen those pictures and watching him. He's got kind of a rounder face, and he's not he's kind of skinny now. Like he's definitely a skinnier man now than he used to be. So that's the Nimblewill I have in my brain. So I sit there and had a conversation with him, not even realizing it was him. And then all of a sudden, like I introduced myself, he introduced himself, and I just like total fangirled out on him. And then he went and took me down to the start of the trail, and he he kind of pushed us off on the trail and read Land of the Free for us to start our journey, and it was awesome. Great time. But yeah, I found out, I think about a year ago, that you had a little tip of the hat to him on your arm. So
Yeah, I actually have part of one of his poems tattooed on my arm. You know, basically this was like a tattoo commemorating my time on that trail. You know, it was like 5,000 miles and a life-changing experience. So yeah. And tattooed one of his poems.
When I found out about that, like I was like, oh, I really need to talk to Jupe about Nimblewill. And then like again, like I was talking, I got that message from him, and then saw you post that, and I was like, oh, I definitely got to talk to him about Nimblewill.
Yeah.
It's like the universe saying that it's finally time to talk. So
next I'll get like a portrait of John tattooed on my arm over here or something, or maybe like Scott Williamson.
Nice. You're like Ray Jardine's face, like on your neck.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So then the Eastern Continental Trail, that was your first thru hike then, right?
That was my first successful thru hike. Yeah, I had actually tried the Appalachian Trail in 2012, and I made it to about Hot Springs, North Carolina. I don't know how many miles in that is, maybe 400.
Yeah.
Someone knows better than me. But anyway, so I made it to about Hot Springs, and I was carrying like I think 95-liter pack or 85-liter pack, and I packed it. I filled that thing. I was carrying 3 yo-yos because you need 3 yo-yos because I have 3 arms for all 3 of them. And I had not just AWOL's guidebook, I had the ATC data book, I had all the maps going all the way up to Maine with me from the start of Georgia. You know, I had a 1-gallon bag full of trail mix, and anyway, my feet really hurt. My ankles really hurt. So I wound up getting off the trail in about Hot Springs and heading home. And, you know, I think that was kind of the impetus to, you know, if I'd completed the Appalachian Trail in 2012, I'm not sure I ever would have come back. I think a lot of people are like, you know, you do one, you've had that experience, and you find a career, you settle down, and, you know, but I think because I had failed that hike or didn't complete it, but had such an amazing time that I wanted to come back and I wanted to do it better. You know, I wanted to show that I had learned and I had improved, and to myself really, I don't care about anything else, but just to myself. So I came back and I was planning on doing the Appalachian Trail, but I figured it was going to take me about 3-4 months, and I felt like quitting my job that I really liked, it wasn't worth it to quit that job if I was only going to be gone for 3-4 months. So I decided I would try and hike the Florida Trail and the Appalachian Trail in one season, or 1 year rather. And, you know, one of my friends made a joke with me that, well, if you're going to hike the 2, you should connect them by foot, you know? Then he made another joke that, well, if you're going to connect both of them by foot, you might as well start all the way in Key West. So this thing just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's when I learned about that there's actually kind of sort of a route that someone else had created. But yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was actually my first like thru hike, really. But by that point,
did you went southbound, didn't you?
I did go southbound. Yeah, it gave me an extra couple months to save up money, and an extra couple months to like train and plan and prepare, you know. So instead of starting in like January of that year, of 2016, I started in, I think, July 1st or June 1st, Canada Day, whatever Canada Day is.
Nice.
Someone probably knows. Yeah, it was great. Everyone was super happy. Canada Day, the parks were free, and it was nice. But yeah. So someone else had asked a question that I wanted to answer quick.
Good.
They had asked, I'd broken my foot in 2 places when I was on the PCT in 2018 or 17 or something, and they were asking how I rehabbed from that. And I just stayed off it. You know, I stayed off it. I didn't do anything. Anytime someone wanted me to go out and do something with them, it's like, no, I couldn't. I stayed home, I painted, I worked on videos, and that's when I really got into a lot of this other stuff. So it took, you know, probably 6, 7, 8 months to rehab 2 broken bones.
Yeah, 18, because I was super bummed to hear that had happened.
Oh, me too.
Because I was out there. I can't remember where I was whenever I heard that, but I was like, oh, eventually, like he'll be moving. Like he'll catch up to me eventually. Like, and get to chat with him a little bit. Maybe I'll try to do a little bit of hiking with him. But yeah, I was super bummed to hear that, man. That
Yeah.
sucks.
So I think kind of the biggest lesson there was, if you plan on going really fast, you should also train really hard. And maybe I didn't train as hard as I could have and all that other stuff. So, yeah, wound up literally just tripping on a rock and stepping on my foot funny and broke
That's
my
how it
foot.
happens. Yeah, that's totally how it happens. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people that think that like maybe because I kind of had a similar thing 300 miles in. I had tripped on a rock coming downhill and went to run to catch myself, and I tore something in my shin. And lucky enough, it
remember that.
just took me off the trail for like 8 days. I should have been off longer. It wasn't 100% healed, but probably still not 100% healed. But you know, that's how it happens. It's the little things. It's not. I think there's a lot of people that think like, oh, you were hiking too fast. Oh, you were hiking too many miles, and that can play into that. But it's those little like something you would never think in a million years that would happen. That's usually how those injuries happen, and it's
Yeah.
definitely a bummer.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I think of like skateboarders, trying to learn how to do a kickflip or something, and how many times do they have to fall down before they finally get
Yep.
that kickflip? So I just felt like I'm just going to get back up and I'm going to keep hiking as if, and use this lesson to just appreciate it even more.
Absolutely. Somebody asked,
Yeah.
I see a map of my homeland behind you. Have you done any trails
Oh,
over there or thinking about it? What is it?
it's Ireland, England, Scotland.
Nice.
And I have not. This is my girlfriend's room. And so I have actually never gone overseas. I've hiked a bunch in like Canada, I guess, but I would love to go overseas at some point. Kind of my idea behind not yet is just I feel like I still have so much to learn. I want to spend more time in the snow. I want to spend more time in the desert. I just want to get more experience and then go overseas because I just worry a little bit about like if something were to happen over there, like if I were to broke my foot in like Italy or something,
Yeah,
then that would be a lot harder to deal with than if I was just in California or something. So
that's a good
at
point.
some point, I'm kind of just gathering the knowledge and saving pictures from all these cool places from everywhere. I've been watching the show on Netflix about like Scotland, and so definitely at some
It's
point,
it's
but
definitely a
not
cool
yet.
country to hike in. I was privileged enough to go over there last year and do the TGO from coast to coast, and it's wild because they have a right to roam law, or no right to roam law, where you can basically there's no really such thing as private property, so you can hike on whatever you want to. You can go anywhere you want to in the country, which is pretty wild. That we could just and with what I was doing, we weren't on a main thing, so it was we'd be at the top of like a peak going over like a certain mountain range, and we would see like a town, a village, like so many miles away. And instead of continuing over the peak, it's like, hey, let's bushwhack down this mountain. Let's go to that town, and let's go have a pint of beer. And that's kind of what the
Cool.
hike became. It was just kind of going wherever you wanted to. The only goal was to get from coast to coast, no matter how you did it.
Very
So yeah,
cool.
it was fun, man.
Yeah, I have a friend from, I believe, England that has done a lot of trails over in that direction overseas. And I was watching like his YouTube videos of different stuff, and it just looks so amazing. So at some point, I would love to.
What's wild, what I
Yeah.
found about being over there is, just in the how many ever days that we were out there, 15 is what we were hiking, because that's how many days it takes to do it. That's how many days you're supposed to do it in. We did it in 14 days. So you realize how much history is there, like how young of a country we live in, and how much
Yeah.
older that country is. Like it's insane. Like we don't have
Yeah.
history here, like compared to.
Not quite like
No,
that.
man, it's just crazy. It was one of my favorite parts of it for sure. Just kind of that cultural experience.
Yeah. So when all this stuff is over, what are you thinking you're going to be able to do this year? What are you interested in doing the rest of this year?
I mean, I
I'm hoping for the
I was
fall.
going to ask you the same thing. I
Yeah.
am, I'm not supposed to go up to do the Great Divide Trail until basically the first week of July. I still have a plane
Yeah.
ticket that I haven't canceled yet that is for the last week of June because I wanted kind of a
You
week
could
up there.
probably cancel it and then rebuy it for even cheaper.
That's a good plan. It was really cheap in the first place. It was like only, I want to say it was like $120 to fly from Phoenix to Calgary, which is
Whoa.
nuts. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah, so I
crazy.
don't know if I could get it cheaper than that. I mean, I might be able to, but so I plan on doing that. Fingers crossed that might still happen.
Yeah.
And then my plan was to jump right off of that onto the Colorado Trail. Um, and then at the end of this year, I'm going into production on another film. So
Cool.
that's my year. Hopefully it
Yeah.
happens. What about you?
Well, my PCT permit is, I think, for July 20th. It's kind of late, but you know. So anyway,
That's
maybe,
still a
but I kind of
possibility.
feel like the PCT and the West Coast it's going to take a little bit more time to, this stuff it's not going to just be over in a snap.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe for the fall I could possibly do like the Arizona Trail Sobo, or maybe do like the Hayduke Trail because
Mm.
I don't know, that seems really interesting. But yeah, I'm kind of at this point looking at the fall and looking at what I can do then, and hopefully just doing smaller things around here in Phoenix, Flagstaff area type stuff, and just being as safe as I can
Yeah,
until
there's
then.
so much good stuff here in Arizona. It's pretty wild to have you in Arizona. Like now you get to. I'm always excited when people come to Arizona or spend time in Arizona because I think that I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's a state that gets kind of overlooked. Like people think like, oh, Grand Canyon, and that's all they really think about. But there's so much here.
There's so much cool stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I'm really excited when things are a little bit more normal. I can really just fully experience that. We were out on the Black Canyon National
Yep.
Recreation Trail or something recently. I think it's like 120 something miles, and I was thinking like I could just do that straight through. You could just drop me off at one end and pick me up at the other end, and
Yeah.
I don't know,
There's
probably
the
not.
Mogollon Rim Trail. There's the I think it's called the Highline Trail. There's a Highline Trail in Arizona too that's around like Pine and stuff. I think that's what it's called. I could be
Yeah.
wrong on that. But yeah, there's all kinds of like little like mini through hikes that you can go out and do around Arizona that I guarantee like nobody's on them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for now, I think we're just totally
Totally.
self-quarantined, staying inside,
Yeah.
running around the neighborhood, playing a lot of Pokemon Go from home,
Nice.
painting and stuff.
Have
But
you caught them all inside the house yet?
I've caught quite a
I
few.
bet. Nice.
Yeah.
Um,
But just looking forward to, I'm thinking about the fall and kind of just loosely planning for that.
nice.
Yeah.
Right on.
Oh yeah.
So, I was going to ask you because I know that you dabble a little bit in cycling, yeah?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I would love to get into the touring aspects of it, but really, I've just, my dad's an Ironman, so I've kind of like gone out and, tried to do the things he does just on my own, and I can't. But, done some great 100-mile rides and stuff like that. So,
Well,
looking forward to, I already have the bags and my bike's already set up, but, I think I'm just like so obsessed with the hiking stuff right now that
I was going to tell you,
maybe
you
in the
might
future.
really dig, especially being in Arizona. Arizona is a perfect state to do like a lot of off-road touring, like on forest service roads and stuff,
Mhm.
with a bike that, I ride. It's basically a road bike. It's just got a wider tire on it, like a 42.
Yeah.
And like you can basically like ride from one end of this state or the bottom of this state to the other end on nothing but forest service roads and just do basically bike touring, gravel road touring. So you should definitely get into that. It's a really fun thing to do around here, like in the fall or in the hotter months whenever you can't hike around here. Doing a little bit of bike packing and gravel road touring. Good stuff. Super
Cool.
addictive. And it translates really well,
Yeah.
like from through hiking to that. You just kind of throw all your
Nice.
stuff on the bike and take off with it.
Yeah, I actually on the Florida Trail this year, I ran into some backpackers that were doing a long section of it who came from bike packing.
Nice.
So all of their gear, other than their backpacks or something, was just bike touring gear. And, you know, I thought that was really cool that they could just kind of jump between the two and experience the
Yeah,
different
it
worlds. And
translates
I've
really
kind of
well.
I felt that bike touring, like I'd really want to do something overseas through Europe or
Hmm.
through, Asia on a bike because then I could see so
Oh
much
yeah.
in.
You froze up a little bit on me. Oh, where'd you go? So hold on just a second, folks. We got a frozen Jupiter. I'm going to try to call him back real quick. All right, guys, give me just a second. Let me try to reconnect Jupiter there. He froze. We got. Oh, are you back? You're back. All right, let me try.
Think,
Let
yeah,
me
you
try to
froze
bring.
for a
There you
minute,
are.
or I
You're
froze for a
back.
minute,
Yeah.
more likely.
Yeah, you just like frozen time. It was great.
I should have made a cooler pose. Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, bike packing definitely translate like it. Hiking, long distance hiking, into bike packing definitely translates really, really well. So I would definitely suggest getting into that. So I want to ask you a handful of random long distance hiking questions that most people want to know. So I
Sure.
know that you are generally a cold soaker and stoveless. Have you ever carried a stove on trail?
Yeah, I carried a stove in 2012, and I carried a stove a little bit after that in like training hikes, and just eventually found I love the simplicity of stoveless. But I decided to come back to it this year, and on the Florida Trail with my girlfriend, we both carried, or she carried a stove, I carried the tent, kind of traded things off that way. But so we carried a stove on the Florida Trail, and we both found that we didn't like it. So, like, you'd think the hot meals would be great, but we just found like it was, as you've always said, it is just a chore at the end of the day. You're too tired, and you just want to like sit down and eat, and you don't want to watch your water boil. And so, yeah, still stoveless, still eating the beans. You bet.
So what is your so if you are carrying a stove, what is your meal of choice? What if you can eat one thing every night and you have the ability to cook and you're not too lazy to cook, what would you rather have than anything else?
I, I mean, it's such a hard question because like I want to say something really amazing that, a lot of times on just like hikes with friends, I would pack out like tin foil filled with like cut up veggies and stuff and stick that on the fire, you know? So, but if I'm through hiking, it's got to be rice sides. Rice sides.
Yeah, it's a
You
staple.
know, it's heavy, it's hearty, it's gonna fill you up, whereas like pasta sides aren't gonna quite do it,
No.
you know?
And
Yeah, so rice
they're a
sides.
pain to cook too. You got to cook the pasta a lot
They
longer.
are. Yeah, it takes a lot of fuel. So
So then if you're stoveless, beans, always beans?
always beans, man. I got into the bean thing because originally I'd heard about like the hiking life, or Swami had eaten nothing but like beans on his like calendar year Triple Crown
Yeah.
and all those other things, and heard about Scott Williamson and Tattoo Joe and all these like just legends of the trail who just ate like nothing but beans. And I tried it and I really liked it.
So
It's certainly not for everybody, but like on the Appalachian Trail, for instance, I did 99% boxes. I sent myself all these boxes, and every single night I just ate beans. Beans, beans, Fritos, olive oil, and chili seasoning.
ooh, that sounds all right.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
A little bit of cheese every once in a while. Do you ever throw cheese in it?
No, but every once in a while an avocado.
Ooh, that's definitely stepping it
Yeah.
up a notch for sure.
So I think of the food more so as fuel than as the motivation for, so, I'm pretty happy just eating the same thing day after day.
Right. So,
Yeah.
what is your current shoe of choice? What are you hiking in right now?
That's a great question. I'm still hiking in the same shoes I've been hiking in, which is just some New Balance Minimus. I love New Balance. I love that I can find them really cheaply or cheap instead of like going out and buying 120, $130 shoes. I can buy something for 30 or $40. So I like that. I had tried the Ultra Olympus, or was it the Olympus?
The
I
Olympus
don't
is
know.
the big one.
The Timps. I tried the Ultra Timps. I tried the Ultra Superior, and what else? Something else. I don't know, but I just didn't really like them. I used to love the Lone Peaks, like the 1.0, 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm just kind of going through the end of my supply of these New Balances, and then I'm going to start the search up again. But my girlfriend wears some Topo athletic shoes, and she really
I've
loves
heard good
those.
things about those.
Yeah, Topo athletic.
So do you have a pretty narrow foot or wide?
Oh, so wide,
Yeah.
dude. So wide. Like I feel the ultras aren't wide enough, and that's kind of my biggest,
Really?
one of my beefs. Yeah, so I get the New Balance in like 4E or 4F or
Wow.
whatever, like the wide. Yeah. So my feet are just totally flattened out from walking
It's
so
wild how
much.
that happens, isn't it? Every year my
It's
size goes up, like at least half a size every single year.
yeah. I think my feet have like stopped growing. They've stopped changing because I can put on old shoes and they feel fine. But, for a while it was like every year they would grow two
Yeah.
sizes or one and a half, one
Like
size. Yeah.
back when I raced
So,
triathlon, I used to race in a 10 and a half in every shoe, 10 and a
what,
half. And now I wear 12 and a
what do
half.
you wear now? 12 and a half. Yeah.
It's insane,
Yeah. I
man.
think I was the same, like 10, and now I'm up to like a 14 or something.
Whoa, that's huge growth.
I know.
God.
You just wouldn't expect that. But yeah.
Um, what uh, what pack are you currently rocking? What's your favorite pack? Because I know what packs that you use, but what's your current favorite?
Yeah, I wear Pinhoti packs. It's just small company out of Utah, and I just really like the stuff that they've done. They've really added a lot of pockets to make the pack and make your gear more accessible. Um, and I really like the guys that created it.
They're all right.
I enjoyed their gear so much from the start that I wound up becoming friends with them just because I just loved the stuff they were creating. So it's John Zahorian and Andy Bentz. Andy Bentz had set the FKT on the John Muir Trail, John Zahorian FKT on the Colorado Trail, and just both super cool guys. So
Yeah, they're great.
Plante Packs.
They're a
Yeah,
good pair. Definitely two good people to own a pack company for sure.
yeah, I think so. Nice guys.
Absolutely. Let's see. What would be another good question? Um, so you're always a tarp guy, yeah? You always do tarp?
Yeah, I actually, 2012, I was hiking with that 75-pound pack or whatever, and I saw this guy with a Light Heart Gear tent.
Hmm.
It was like the So Long Six.
Yeah.
It's like a two-person tent. It's amazing. And I saw that tent and I thought like that is the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And I came home from that trip and I saved up all my money and I wound up buying one of those tents. And shortly thereafter, I decided, hey, I'll just try tarp. Everyone talks about how light a tarp is and all this other stuff. I don't really think I'm going to like it, but I'll give it a shot. And I tried that tarp and I never used that tent ever again. I love the tent, but I just love how open like a tarp is. You get to really just like be in the outdoors. And then I love how light it is. It just weighs next to nothing and it packs down so small. And so, yeah, I always use the tarp as a shelter.
Being in,
We did actually,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
we did actually use a Z-Pax
Oh,
duplex on our Florida Trail hike because I felt like a 2-month hike wasn't going to be the best time to try and spring a tarp on my girlfriend. She's a very experienced hiker, but never really used a tarp
sure.
before, and most people haven't. And most people don't want to.
Right.
So I figured shorter trips would be a better time. But yeah, so I also love the Z-Pax
There's
duplex.
something about needing, like, for me, it's not even the mesh or the openness. For some reason, I need doors. I don't know what it is. Like, I picked up a Hexamid pocket tarp with doors last year. Bought one of those. Love it.
Cool.
Like, it's just something
Yeah.
about doors. I don't know why that's important to me because most nights I'll just leave one open anyways. But yeah.
Yeah. I just like seeing what's around me, and just being in it.
So with being in Florida and stuff and dealing with, how do you deal with mosquitoes and bugs being in the tarp?
Well, Second Chance was on earlier, and he kind of mentioned this as well from his experience. During the winters, the bugs just aren't that big of a
That's a good
deal.
point.
There's a couple areas, like Lake Okeechobee, just a giant standing water pool. There's a couple like little sections like swamps, maybe Big Cypress or the Kissimmee Prairie, or maybe Blackwater. But over the course of like 1,100 miles, we maybe only had a couple nights or a few nights where we actually had bugs. So even in Florida over the winter, the bugs kind of just go away, and then you can find, if there are bugs, you can find spots maybe that has better airflow or better wind blowing through, so the bugs can't really like get to you as easily,
Yeah.
or camp away from water, or, you can't really find higher ground on the Florida Trail, but, you know, so there's a lot of like little tricks and tactics to kind of stay away.
Nice. Right on. So for
Yeah.
everybody out there that's wondering the tarp life, there you go. There's a little bit of tarp life lesson for you.
Yeah, I think if you're going to get into it, it's great for just try it out in the best weather possible, so then you can see it when it's at its best and you can slowly introduce like worse weather or worse conditions, but I generally use a tarp for 3 seasons. I've never really done like super winter camping. I'd probably use a tent then though. Maybe. We'll
Maybe.
see. Yeah.
Nice. Well, right on, man. Well, thanks for jumping on here and chatting with us. It's awesome to talk to you again, and jacked that you're here in Arizona and that here, once all this stuff lifts, you get to go out and experience some of it and maybe get primed for your AZT hike, hopefully at the end of this year. So
Yeah, I think so. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope everyone else is planning something else for the end of this year once this stuff is over. Treat yourself.
yeah,
Treat yourself to something good.
absolutely. Yeah, now's the time for everybody to get jacked, and then that whatever hike that you're able to do whenever all this stuff lifts will be like the best hike, because we've all just been like held back from it. So it'll pick something good, because it'll definitely go down in infamy of being like one of the better hikes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like if there's a ton of people out at the end of this. I imagine so, like everyone, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'd say look for maybe trails that are lesser known or not as popular as the big three,
Exactly.
because then you're not going to run into those crazy crowds and of everyone else also trying to get outside and stuff like that. So, I'm always a big advocate for the smaller trails and stuff like that.
Totally. Same. All right, man. Well, be well, be safe, and hopefully we'll get to hang out soon and do some hiking here in Arizona.
Cool, man. That'd be awesome. Thanks for having me
All
on.
right, bud. See ya.
Later, guys.
All right. Huge thanks to Jupiter. Huge thanks to all my guests. Always fun to talk to that guy. He, for being so many of us through hikers and stuff, we start with like the AT, the PCT, but I've always found Jupiter to be so interesting because of what he started with the Eastern Continental, of doing all of that as his first like real through hike, which is just insane to me. So hopefully, we've been kind of talking about it. Hopefully we can, once all this stuff lifts, we can get out and maybe do some hiking together here in Arizona. That is the plan. So again, big thanks to all of my guests, Second Chance, Legend, and Jupiter. And thanks to all of you for sitting through all of this. Like, I think we've been going now for 2 hours and 39 minutes. I think this is the longest I've ever talked on a camera, but I love doing this. I love getting to chat with all you guys. I love getting to answer your questions. And before we go, I'll answer a few more questions over here. So if you do have a question that you didn't get a chance to ask me earlier or something, throw it over here and I will be happy to do that here for the next, I don't know, we'll say 10 minutes. The next 10 minutes, I will answer some questions over here. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me and coming. And, it keeps me inspired to keep making stuff for you guys and to keep us all connected. And I think that that's what it's all about right now, is us inspiring each other, as lifting each other up, and us staying connected as a community when we can't be out on the trail and we can't have that community experience out on the trail. So massive thanks to you guys for for coming and hanging out and sitting through all of this. All right, so let's see if we have some questions here real quick. Somebody said, really enjoyed this talk show. Yeah, I think it's a talk show. Maybe I'll have a musical guest. Maybe I can convince someone to play some original music at some point. I don't know. Maybe not. Let's not go that far. But that'd be fun, right? Couple guests and a musical guest. And you know, my plan is to do these until basically we can all go back out on the trail. Obviously, if I get the opportunity to go do the Great Divide Trail and the Colorado Trail, I'm probably not going to be doing these live casts. I'm probably going to go try to enjoy the trail. So, but while we're all hanging out and need to be connected, I will definitely keep doing these. So somebody said Arizona Trail. What is that? I'm in Arizona and can't find anything on Google. The Arizona Trail is a national scenic trail that spans the length of Arizona from Utah to Mexico. I spent all of last year making a documentary film about it. If you want to check that film out, for anybody that hasn't seen the film, you can find it at I thought I had something to show you. You can find it at theoutdoorevolution.com. Click on films and you can download it there. 50% of every single download goes back to the Arizona Trail Association. That is a non-profit public lands association. So support them and find out some information on the trail. All right, let's see. Differences between the AT/PCT communities. I would say the big differences between those communities, the AT is definitely a little more tight-knit community. So the AT is a very social trail, where the PCT is a little more, everybody's kind of on their own adventure. And the PCT is a newer trail. So when the AT was routed, it was meant to go through these little towns so you could get a social experience and also get a wilderness experience. When the PCT was routed, it was more about a wilderness experience. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference between them. Got a super chat from Brandon. Thank you, Brandon, so much. I appreciate you as well, brother. Thank you so much. Let's see. Somebody said you play some. You don't want to hear me. I have a guitar. I used to play music for years. I owned a recording studio, but I am probably super rusty. You don't want to hear me play guitar, I promise. Maybe a bathroom break. Yeah, I'll go to the bathroom in a little bit. Don't really need to go to the bathroom yet. I've been drinking a lot of liquids, and I'm still good. Still holding in there. K-Matt, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for all you do for the hiking community. Appreciate it. I really, really, really love the hiking community. If you guys haven't been able to tell that yet. Let's see. We'll answer 3 more questions, and then I'm going to call it. Daniel says, if you were to hike the PCT again, would you use a frameless pack the whole way, particularly for the Sierras with a bear can? Yes, I would. Frame packs I used for quite some time. Used the Arc Blast for a long time. I just prefer a frameless pack, and I think that I would still have no problem using a bear can with the pack that I would take on the PCT. I think that if I was going to go hike the PCT again, I would hike everything up to the Sierra with a Waymark Evolve, which is a 35-liter pack. Then I think going through the Sierra, I would probably hike with a Thru, which is a 40-liter pack, just so I had a little bit more room to be able to put a bear can in there, like a BV 450. And then once I got done with the Sierra and got rid of the bear can, I'd probably switch back to my 35-liter. I know that kind of probably sounds confusing and like it's too much work, but for me, I think that that's how I would do it, because you really only need that extra room for the bear can, and after that, I wouldn't want the extra room. I didn't need it when I was on the PCT in 2018. That's why I switched packs at the end of the hike, because I just had all this room, and I wasn't using it. So that's how I would do it again, for sure. Someone said bear canister on the AT or bear bag. Bear bag, I would definitely use a bear bag, for sure. There's only a couple spots on the AT where you have to use a canister, but as long as you don't camp in those spots, you do not have to use a canister. Somebody said, AT reunion, any comments on Baltimore Jack? Yeah, Baltimore Jack was an interesting fellow. I had a pretty special experience with him at the Mountain Crossings Hostel in 2015. If you guys want to kind of hear a little bit of that story, you can go watch my AT videos that I'm still putting out. The first episode, I talked a little bit about Baltimore Jack. When I was there in 2015, Jack was still working at Mountain Crossings, and I was lucky enough to get to stay up all night listening to him tell stories in the hostel, which was really, really amazing. One of my fondest memories from any hike that I've ever done. One of my fondest memories from life, really. He was a person that I really was inspired by before I went out to do the AT. So to meet him and then have him to basically be able to hang out with him and make a connection with him was really special for my first hike, for sure. Let's see. Oh, Jupiter and a bunch of other people ask, when is Darwin and Dixie collab? I don't know. I've tried to collaborate with her a handful of times. She doesn't ever seem to have time or want to do that. I don't know. So always open invitation to do something like that, but don't know. Yeah, don't really know her. Have talked to her a handful of times on the internet, but yeah, you guys should know at this point, I like a little bit of everybody, and I'm always willing to collaborate and do anything with anybody. It just really depends on if that other person wants to. So far, that has not happened. And I'm going to answer one more question. With one. Someone said, thanks for being chill and not talking trash about people you don't necessarily think the most highly of. Much respect. Oh, yeah, I would never talk trash about anybody. My biggest pet peeve out of any pet peeve that I have is people that want to make comments, accusations, and give opinions on things and people that they have no frame of reference on. If you've never met somebody, if you don't know somebody, if you have no personal connection with somebody, making a comment about them or talking about them is just a very silly thing to me. That's like, I don't know anything about electrical work. Nothing about electrical work. I have a hard enough time putting a light bulb in a lamp. It's like if an electrician came over to my house to fix a wiring problem, and the whole time he was fixing the wiring problem, I was telling him he was doing it wrong. I have no frame of reference. I don't know anything about electrical, so I tend to keep my mouth shut. And I'm the opposite guy. I want to learn as much as possible. If there's somebody that knows more than me, or somebody that knows something about something that I don't, I like to keep my ears open, my eyes open, and learn as much as possible. I am a learner. All right. Folks, I think that is it. We have been going now for 2 hours and 49 minutes, 50 minutes, almost 3 hours. Some of you have sat here with me. Almost 3 hours, which is insane. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thanks to all my special guests. I'm going to do this again next Tuesday, and I'm pretty excited about the next special guest that I have coming on, so hopefully you will all tune in. If you're watching the rebroadcast of this, tune in next Tuesday. It's always going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 12 Pacific time. That's the time that I'm currently on, I guess. Even though I'm in Arizona, it doesn't change. Anyways, tune in next time. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I will see you all soon. I'll see you all very soon. Keep an eye out for my next AT video that will drop on Thursday. It's the last one, and then I'll probably go back to making my normal videos, my gear videos. If you guys have any suggestions on some videos that you'd like to see coming up, since we're all in quarantine, leave me something in the comments below after this video is posted, and let me know what you guys might want to see, and I'll see what I can do. All right, guys, take care of each other. Love you. Bye.